Yeah, you probably could do that, man. You could probably do that. Make that happen. I don't think that... I mean, it can take some time, obviously, but you can for sure make that work. I don't know what the delay is at all. All this shit's working. What's up, Darns? Some strange music on as well? Yeah, you should be able to hear me and music, man. Just fucking tunes. I'm just trying to get everything fleshed out, my dude. Trying to get it all fleshed out is all I'm trying to do. Hey, what's up, Five? How you doing, man? Cool, cool. I'm glad that's working. Yeah, man, I'm doing good. We're doing all well. I've been busy with a lot of shit, Five. Been busy with a lot of shit, my man. Just Darns, FYI, I'm streaming on multiple platforms right now, so I'll be talking to multiple people. I've been busy with doing some testing for another game that I'll be streaming later today, and I'm just getting all my stream stuff set up for that. Let's see here. Go here. Go here. We'll test all this shit on. Let's go here. I'm gonna turn my camera off though.
Crucible, Amazon is taking its most significant step into the games industry. The publisher is leveraging its immense platform to engineer what it believes will be a new breed of competitive team-based shooters. Crucible is a free-to-play action game built on the design of the burgeoning hero shooter genre. It's an experience that feels familiar, albeit with an otherworldly ability to grasp a hold of your attention. Crucible is going to launch with 10 distinct hunters, each equipped with their own unique weapon and set of abilities. These fighters are distinct in their capability and build, their silhouettes easily identifiable on the horizon as you're stomping across the lush planet in which the action takes place. Some, like Summer and Tosca, are built around mobility and crowd control. Others, like Jakal, are focused on short-range melee attacks around crucial objective points. Regardless, each hunter comes with its own personality, loadout and utility. Getting to grips with each is easy enough, learning how to best utilize them in play is far more challenging. Where Crucible looks to carve its own path is in how the game is geared wholeheartedly towards offensive play, quick movement and decision making. Understanding how to take advantage of your weapons, abilities and character level is half the fun. Speaking of levels, you'll have the ability to tailor these playstyles too. In addition to having unique weapons and abilities, each of the hunters also has a unique set of upgrades. You'll lock into a particular character before a match begins, in an ideal world, working with your team to strike a balance in squad composition. And then you'll have just a few minutes to run through a skill tree for your hunter, assigning 5 potential upgrades that will unlock gradually through the game as you level up. This adds a really interesting dynamic to play, as you're never quite certain what variant of hunter you'll be coming up against, and neither is the enemy. The opening minutes to any game of Crucible will traditionally see your squad split into smaller groups and attempt to take control of portions of the lush, sprawling map. The early game is important as it's your only real opportunity to gather essence unimpeded, before the key objective and points begin to reveal themselves and demand your full attention. Essence is a resource in Crucible that you earn by capturing objective points, killing enemies, and crucially by farming creatures that exist in the world.
I'm excited.
Relentless Studios are planning to regularly update Crucible over time with new heroes, customization options, and game modes to complement the 3 at launch. While these modes are fun and built to encourage team-based play, only one really stands out. Heart of Hives is a 4 versus 4 in which teams must take on massive bosses and capture 3 hearts to win, while Harvester Command sees 8 players go against another 8 to earn points by capturing and holding essence harvesters. There's fun to be found in these modes, sure, but it is alpha hunters that will really make or break the game. We don't have any footage to show you of this game mode yet, but in Alpha Hunters, 8 teams of 2 players drop into the map, each vying to be the final team standing. This isn't Amazon's take on the Battle Royale, but rather a team-based mode with a killer twist that has been refined and heavily play-tested over the years. If your teammate gets eliminated during the game, leaving you stranded as a solo player in an already dangerous world, you'll be able to form uneasy alliances with any other rogue players that you encounter. A quick button press lets you invite the player to form a temporary alliance, becoming a team of 2 again, which lasts until there are just 3 players left in the match, at which point the bond is broken and it becomes a free-for-all.
Let's see, I got it somewhere here. Is that here? Are you ready for it, dude? I made this yesterday. I did, yeah. Yeah, you liked it? Thanks, man. See? I only got 305 viewers on it, but, you know, it's okay. I made it for fun. Where were we at here?
Are planning to regularly update Crucible over time with new heroes, customization options, and game modes to complement the 3 at launch. While these modes are fun and built to encourage team-based play, only one really stands out. Heart of Hives is a 4 versus 4 in which teams must take on massive bosses and capture 3 hearts to win. While Harvester Command sees 8 players go against another 8 to earn points by capturing and holding essence harvesters. There's fun to be found in these modes, sure, but it is alpha hunters that will really make or break the game. We don't have any footage to show you of this game mode yet, but in Alpha Hunters, 8 teams of 2 players drop into the map, each vying to be the final team standing. This isn't Amazon's take on the Battle Royale, but rather a team-based mode with a killer twist that has been refined and heavily play-tested over the years. If your teammate gets eliminated during the game, leaving you stranded as a solo player in an already dangerous world, you'll be able to form uneasy alliances with any other rogue players that you encounter. A quick button press lets you invite the player to form a temporary alliance, becoming a team of 2 again, which lasts until there are just 3 players left in the match, at which point the bond is broken and it becomes a free-for-all. More interestingly still, you can actually choose to break off the alliance of your own accord. You can even do it mid-engagement, and there's a sickening pleasure to be drawn out of betraying somebody in the middle of a heated firefight, especially if it involves immediately joining with another player you had just widowed. There's still a lot of Crucible that will be tested in a trial by fire of sorts. The balance of Alpha Hunters is one such element, although its success could really help set Crucible apart from its contenders out there right now. There are also questions of just how pervasive microtransactions will be, how interesting the customizable cosmetics will be, and how Amazon Games plans on structuring its Battle Pass. Still, with the game set to launch on PC on May 20th, 2020, you won't have to wait long to find out for yourself.
Welcome to Crucible, where each match is a struggle for control. You and your teammates won't
I'm
be
gonna
going
be here for a while,
toe-to-toe with
giving
the
out info on this shit.
competition.
I'm just gonna grab some
You'll have
water.
to adapt to and overcome everything the planet itself throws at you. You'll work together with your fellow Essence Hunters to take down alien creatures, capture objectives, and crush your opponents in search of victory. Crucible attracts all types. Soldiers, criminals, rogue agents. Hunters team up in 3 different game modes. Heart of the Hives is a 4-on-4 race to capture the hearts left behind by monstrous hive creatures. In Alpha Hunters, you and a partner take on all comers in a fight to be the last hunter standing. Harvester Command has 2 teams of 8 competing to see who can rack up the most essence by controlling essence harvesters. Welcome to Crucible. Get in there and show the galaxy what you're made of.
So, I can't answer all the questions, but I can answer any questions that the info is already available, because I am under NDA. So if you have a question, I can attempt to answer it.
Every operation has got an Earl. You know, family guy, just in it for a living, happy to pal around when he's off the clock.
Coming through!
But you know, when the chips are down, he is a real son of a gun. Speaking of guns, he calls his Misty after his wife. Old Misty here is a scratch-built quad cannon, spits out hundreds of rounds a minute.
My favorite character so far?
Misty is lovely.
Either
Anyway,
Bug
the gun is
or
kitted out.
Tosca.
He can upshift her to let out a high-powered burst of
What's
bullets.
going on, dude? My family's
Let down
doing
an
well, thanks for
explosion to
asking.
knock enemies back and to deflect
I
projectiles.
really don't know who I'll main yet. I
Or
really don't.
engage the afterburner to jet forward at frankly alarming speeds. If he gets in a tight spot, he can always chug a healing beverage. Solid guy to have on your side, but I wouldn't want to get in his way.
Maybe Bug. It'll probably be Bug or Tosca. Or Shozen. I don't know. I really don't know.
I am the reef that splits the current.
Ajona's pretty neat too.
A raider from the planet Orison, Ajona is a deadly marksman who excels at taking out her prey from distance. Her basic attack is a shot from a harpoon gun, and she can aim down sights for increased accuracy and damage. Ajona uses her grappling hook to cover terrain quickly and seize the high ground. She deploys flying mines to distract and damage enemies. Her jamming shroud blocks detection of herself and nearby allies. So when she's in play, do yourself a favor and don't let your guard down. Ever.
The tide rises.
Hello. What's up, Freeman? I think they have 10 characters right now. We're going through all of them right now. So if you stick around, you'll see all of them.
I protect
And their
my
abilities
garden,
and stuff.
and it protects me.
This here is Bug. He's a terraforming botany unit modified to test out the viability of using robots to collect essence. Charming fellow, eager to please, remarkably deadly given his cute exterior. The thrusters allow him to get a height advantage over land-bound opponents. Bug fights with unusual weapons, seed pod ammunition, and a built-in fertilizing sprayer. He can plant seeds and then use his spray to grow them. Fast. The plants? They don't like enemies. They'll dish out damage to any hostiles in range. The spray will also damage any opponents it hits. He can also crop dust his enemies, slowing and damaging them. Lastly, he can grant shields to himself, his plants, and his nearby friends. Pretty cool for a gardener, huh?
Yes, Joy. Let's make Crucible bloom.
Mm-hmm. He does a good job at area control and does some pretty decent damage too, to be honest.
When in doubt,
And has pretty decent mobility.
Yeah, this guy. Captain Mendoza, the Unity vet. Been in the military forever. Oldest captain in the Unity. Got busted down once for punching an officer. has a combat story for every sector of space. Carries a pulse rifle. There are many like it. That one is his. Crucially, he knows how to use it. His specialty is being where he's gotta be. You find yourself in a pinch and need an ally, he's gonna be the guy who's gonna come sprinting to find you. He can call down his own portable cover, complete with medkit.
Nah, man, I couldn't
And he'll
sleep.
even bring flash grenades for added support. No better friend, huh? No worse enemy.
So I'm just gonna talk about what I can talk about. Chill. I'm normally awake, Hershey, overnight anyways, man. I normally stream full time at this time over the evening. There was no way I was gonna be excited and go to bed.
Summertime.
So I'll just stream all night and then stream all day tomorrow, and then I'll
You
sleep
ever taken
before
a
actual release.
flamethrower blast to the face? No? You ever want to? Then keep your distance from this one. Summer built those twin flamethrowers herself. They're full of neat little tricks until they overheat. Gotta watch that.
Yeah, I feel you.
Cool my jets.
Those modified flamethrowers give her options. Fireballs, magma spirals, and explosive knockback. She can even get some air and blast forward with them. I hear it's no fun to be the person between her and the ground when all that whoop-ass comes crashing down out of the sky.
In this corner, me.
What's up, Demiser?
Watch and learn.
This one is apparently some big shot back on her homeworld. I mean, just look at that uniform, right? It takes a lot of stupidity, or an awful lot of moxie to give your opponents pointers on tactics and swaps between her pistol and energy sword depending on the fight.
Yeah, I'm trying the YouTube streaming thing, Demiser.
And she's
Kinda see
got
how
a
it works.
reflecting hollow shield to get her through some sticky situations. Plus a force dome that her enemies can't pass through. Trust me, you do not want to get caught on the wrong side of that.
It's good to be the best.
I need to update some of those commands in my stream. I didn't play her at all.
Harvester Command is an 8v8 game mode, an all-out challenge to control essence. It's valuable, it's powerful,
But yeah,
and
it definitely
it's hard
looks
to
really
get a
strong.
hold of. We pull it out of the planet with these huge essence harvesters, and you need to control those harvesters. In Harvester Command, your goal is to gather essence faster than the opposing team. Your score goes up when you control more harvesters than the other side. The more you hold, the more your score goes up.
How long are the matches?
There's 8 hunters to a side, and the first
Matches
team
are as
to
long as they take to
100
finish.
wins. Of course, picking off members of the opposing team doesn't hurt either. With objectives all over the map, you'll be skirmishing constantly. Think about the sort of squad you want at your side.
They are not
Capturing
timed
harvesters
right
doesn't
now.
mean anything if you can't defend them. Good luck, Hunter. Now go get that essence.
I mean, honestly, I don't really know about that.
Ain't no stopping us.
10-4. Good buddy.
In Alpha Hunters, your job is easy. Win. You and your partner will go up against 7 other pairs of Essence Hunters. Last team standing gets all the glory and keeps the essence. Once you're down, you're out. Take out the local wildlife, and complete objectives to level up. The more you level up, the more powerful your abilities become.
Watch your step.
If your partner falls in combat, keep an eye out for another solo hunter to team up with.
Let me help you.
Welcome to the party.
But, careful. If you two make it to the final 3, that temporary alliance breaks. And all bets are off. That is, unless it's your original partner. Then, you celebrate victory together.
I started adding some feedback, Hershey, into my document. I don't know if you saw that or not. Yeah, I feel like that Temp Alliance is gonna be kind of like what do you call it? Like the cycle was.
Heart of the Hives is a 4-on-4 race to capture the hearts left behind by monstrous hive creatures. Hives are big, nasty things. You'll find them springing up out of the ground on Crucible. Come special with their own little wasp thing. Ugh. My advice, don't let them touch you. Each hive has what you'd call a heart, and those hearts, they are highly valuable. So your job is to get down to the surface, keep an eye out for hives, take them down, and capture the heart they leave behind. Get 3 of them and you win. You'll even have 3 teammates to help you. Easy, right? Of course, there are other hunters down there looking to get them too. You'll want to think on your feet. React to changing conditions. Use your knowledge of the planet's terrain to your advantage. It'll take coordination and teamwork to secure your victory. Heart of the Hives is a game of tactics. Swarm a hive, or build up your power. Ambush your foes, or take them on head-to-head. You need a plan. Whatever tactic you decide to try, remember, get 3 hearts before the other team. Get out there, you heartbreakers.
Was what challenging, man? Playing the cycle? This cycle is pretty easy.
The term mad scientist gets thrown around a lot, you know?
I can't really
But it
talk a
doesn't
lot
really
about
do Tosca justice.
it at all.
No.
Not for
she's
a
more
little
of
bit more, man.
Pissed off genius scientist. And she's got an acid gun. Real good combination, huh? Add to that a pair of X-ray
If you see
goggles
something
that let
in
her
these
detect
videos,
enemies. An explosive
I can probably kind of
compound
like
that sticks and slows
talk
them
about
down.
that stuff, but I can't really talk about anything
Electro
that
cloud to cloak
isn't
herself
publicly
and her
released yet.
allies. Plus, she can teleport through solid walls. So you can imagine why a creature so small sends opponents 3 times her size running. Do me a favor. Don't tell her I called her small.
Eat sticky death!
We're gonna chill here and watch some fucking content, and then later on, when I can, I will probably show some pre-recorded footage that I have. I was gonna make videos, but I didn't get enough footage, I don't think,
This is
to really make good quality videos, and plus I was learning a lot of shit, so
he's a piece
we'll just
of
watch
work,
the
you know?
fucking
I mean,
matches.
he's not evil.
We can talk about him.
Exactly. But he's really good with that axe, and he really enjoys swinging it. People underestimate him at first. I mean, sure, they're ready for the melee swings with the axe, but nobody is prepared for the sonic pulse the axe fires to hit them when they're out of reach. And he's quick on his feet, too, for such a big guy. He can power up that axe to stun and bleed his enemies. When he whips himself into a frenzy, he can pull opponents in close or gain health from hitting them. Nobody underestimates him twice. Good luck.
Not just a pretty face.
I feel like he's gonna be a fucking problem. I think I'm excited to learn how to play this character as well, Zazan.
You ready for action?
I'm just gonna call her Susan though.
They call Cezanne a one-woman army for a good reason. Never so much as rolls out of bed without her inertia gun, electro knife, and shotgun. She swaps them fast, and she gets bonuses based on what weapon she's holding. Plus, she's incredibly light on her feet, dashes around the battlefield to take advantage of tactical openings. You may as well count
Hey,
her
thanks, Bane.
grudges as a
Appreciate the
weapon,
follow.
too.
Thanks, bruh. Thanks for the follow, dude.
She's convinced someone in the Unity did her old commando squad dirty. And I know she is never gonna let that one go. Frankly, I pity the poor sap who did it. Because she will find them. Eventually.
I'm always
no worries,
the
dude.
last one standing.
Have no fear. I concur.
Rahian brother. Big human, little robot.
Scouting ahead.
Honest to goodness folk heroes. The stories I hear about those two can't be true, but I mean, who knows really, right?
Taking fire. I'll protect you.
Rahi's got a short-range laser beam that converts some of the damage he deals into a personal shield. He can use those shields to deflect damage or to power up his force punch. And he can send out a projectile that protects allies and blinds his enemies. Plus, he can ignore damage for a short bit and recharge his shields.
Shields at full.
Brothers, an extra set of eyes.
Rahi and I are ready to help.
Brother can also scout up ahead, detecting enemies, and Rahi can teleport to him to catch up. Between that and Rahi's super jump, it can be awfully hard to pin down. Now, they say they came to Crucible because it's got the key to improving life for people all over the galaxy. That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Anything is possible.
Anything is possible. What I'm gonna do? What time is it now? I'm gonna order me some fucking breakfast. Be delivered. Wrong.
I am the reef that
Too early
splits the
still.
current.
A raider from the planet Orison, Azona is a deadly marksman who excels at taking out her prey from a distance. Her basic attack is a shot from a harpoon gun. And
I
she
should
can
watch this
aim
one.
down sights for increased accuracy and damage.
This is Crucible, and it appears to be a third-person Overwatch-style hero shooter, wait for it, with PvE and PvP in the same game modes? What? Ladies and gentlemen, hello, welcome to the channel. I'm Stalos, and I am slightly hyped. I'm just going to throw that out there right now. I am slightly hyped because the day began with me looking at the kettle thinking, you know what, I'm going to make myself a nice cup of coffee today. It's going to be quite interesting. And then this popped up on my Twitter feed, and I was like, what the hell is this? So we had to get stuck into this and try and work out what this is. So in this video, we're going to take a look at this gameplay trailer you guys can see in the background here. We're going to look at some journalistic interviews that Games Radar and PC Games N conducted because they actually went out there and played this game. Now, this game is made by Amazon. It is the first AAA game they've actually published and thrown out there into the wild. It looks insane, and it just looks like Overwatch to me. Third person with PvE, with PvP thrown in. It's got a bunch of different game modes. It's going to launch with 10 different heroes. I'm going to cover all of this in this video because I've gone around and compiled all this information together because we're going to try and break down what the hell this is because this looks crazy. Like, I love it when things like this happen. Like, I'm sitting here, well, like I said, I was making a cup of coffee and then I was like, what's this on my phone? What the hell is this? Is this like this looks like Overwatch, kind of, and then it's like a hero shooter, and it's actually got.
I wouldn't
PvE
say
and
that it
PvP
is
in
the
same
cycle.
game, and you level up as
I
well.
would say
It
that there's
was-
similarities.
Whoa, like my mind is actually getting blown. So I've calmed down and I've taken a look at what the hell is going on. So we're gonna break this down. All right, guys. So it says choose your hunter. Each of Crucible's 10 hunters comes armed with their own unique set of abilities. How you use them is up to you. Whether you join in the fight as an evil genius Tosca,
Mechanics?
with, an acid scattergun, or a robot bug, and his
How do you mean?
seed pod turrets, there is a hunter to fit your playstyle. So it looks like, obviously, they're going to make a bunch of different hunters. Are they going to be tanks and DPS and stuff like that? We'll get onto that in a second. Start strong. Begin every match on a level playing field. Each hunter has their full array of weapons and abilities at their disposal from the word go. Now, this probably gives you.
I mean,
a
they're
little
the
bit of a
same
clue
in
here.
that they're both
It's got
PvE
battle
VP,
royale style
but outside of
elements in
that,
it, but you're
they're not
leveling up
similar at all.
inside the game as you go through it, and it's oh my god, it seems so cool based off what I've just read. Customize. Before each match, you'll select which upgrades to unlock as you level up. With these upgrades, you can define how your hunter fights, bring along additional utility and tricks, or go all in on your damage output. It's up to you. So again, you can customize and tailor your character, which would mean that if it comes down to a fight, they might not actually know what you've been spending your points on as you've been leveling up. That is just crazy. Level up. Essence is a strange substance with incredible properties, and it is the object of all the commotion on the planet Crucible. You can get it from the opponents and creatures you kill, or by controlling objectives. As you collect essence, you level up. You'll get access to your pre-selected upgrades with each of your first 5 levels. After that, more levels mean more power and health. That just sounds crazy. Adapt. Use your abilities and your wits to master the environment and battle conditions around you. Learn the lay of the land and use it to your advantage. Capitalize on events, grab all the essence you can, hunt down the opposition, and claim victory. This just seems...
All right, dude.
This...
Enjoy your nap.
Ooh, I am kind of lost for words here, right? Because this could be mental. So I've got a bit more video footage here. This is taken from their website. I'm going to play through this a few times, but this shows you some different bits and pieces that we don't actually see in the announcement trailer. You can see like a bunch of abilities being used. Here, you get to see this like grappling hook there. You've got this big guy with like a massive, like flat cannon style heavy machine gun thing. He's blasting away. They're fighting a boss there. Now, there are actually enemies on the map. Think Creep from like MOBA games, League of Legends and Dota. But you can take on bosses, destroy them, claim their essence, and then use the essence to level up your characters. And obviously the whole point of it is to go and kill the other groups of hunters that are out there. But then it depends on what game mode you're in. This just seems absolutely incredible. Like I said, I just didn't expect this to be a thing. It's just a thing. It's like, there you go. I love it when games just come out of complete left field and we've got no idea what they're about. I mean, we're going to get to try this as well pretty soon. As you guys can see on the middle of the screen there, May the 20th, this will be playable. It's on Steam, so you can add it to your wish list, which does mean it's not on console. It's PC only for the moment. So let's take a look at the game modes. Now, this is from Games Radar, and it says, Heart of the Hives is a 4 versus 4 in which teams must take on massive bosses to capture 3 hearts to win. That just sounds so cool. While Harvester Command sees 8 players go against another 8 to earn points by capturing and holding Essence Harvesters. Fun to be found in these modes, sure, but it's alpha hunters that really make or break the game. In it, 8 teams of 2 players drop into the map, each vying to be the final team standing. So you can see that is a battle royale style mode. But I tell you what, guys, Heart of the Hives, going around completing what is essentially killing raid bosses against other groups of players to try and do it as fast as possible sounds amazing. Because if you can go out there and like interrupt them, what? That's going to be crazy. Anyway, this is the Alpha Hunter mode. From what I understand from my time at the studio, iterations of Alpha Hunters have been in the works since the earliest days of the project. This isn't Amazon's take on the Battle Royale, but rather a team-based mode with a killer twist that has been refined and heavily play-tested over the years. If your teammate gets eliminated during the game, leaving you stranded as a solo player in an already dangerous world, you'll be able to form uneasy alliances with any other rogue players that you encounter. A quick button press lets you invite the player to form a temporary alliance, becoming a team of 2 again, which lasts until there are just 3 players left in the match. at which point the bond is broken and it becomes a free-for-all. More interestingly still, you can actually choose to break off the alliance of your own accord. You can even do it mid-engagement. There's a sickening pleasure to be drawn out of betraying somebody in the middle of a heated gunfight, especially if it involves immediately joining with another player you had just widowed. What? So you can form a group and then be like, I'm then just going to kill my partner because it's last man standing wins? Ooh, this seems absolutely crack. What? Well, there's the release date again, guys, in case you missed it. This was from PC Games then, but we've seen it a bit earlier on in the video, the 20th of May. So we're going to be able to play this pretty soon. All right, then. So I'm going to show you guys some screenshots here, which have been provided by Crucible on their website and taken off Steam and various publications that have been talking about this, quite frankly, ludicrous announcement, which has just come out of nowhere. But I do have more bits and pieces I do want to read through for you guys. So this is from PC. Well, this is from Games Radar. I think they probably put together the better article on all of this. So yeah, I won't bother putting this on the screen because you guys can look at the beautiful visuals. But this is what they say. With Crucible, Amazon is taking its most significant step into the games industry yet. The publisher is leveraging its immense platform to engineer what it believes will be a new breed of competitive team-based shooters. Crucible is a free-to-play action game built on the foundational design of the burgeoning hero shooter genre, charting its evolution beyond it by drawing from a litany of industry success stories and experiments. The result is an experience that feels familiar, albeit with an otherworldly ability to grasp and hold a player's attention. While it would be easy to characterize Crucible as a third-person Overwatch at a distance, once you get up close and personal with it,
on the 20th, man,
to realize that this comparison ultimately does it a disservice. Even if the fundamentals may look recognizable, Relentless Studios has made a number of smart decisions in its debut that will work to keep you engaged in the evolution of your hero while ensuring that your squad is focused on completing shared objectives. The balance has been struck in service of Crucible's core approach to play, a loop encompassed by 3 words: hunt, level, and adapt. You know, I am getting strong Evolve feelings here, and also Savage as well, if any of you guys have played those games. Crucible is going to launch with 10 distinct hunters, each equipped with their own unique weapon and set of abilities. These fighters are distinct in their capability and build, their silhouettes easily identifiable on the horizon as you're stomping across the lush planet which the action takes place. Some, like Summer and Tosca, are built around mobility and crowd control. Others, like Drakal, are focused on short-range melee attacks to hold the attention of sparring hunters around Crucible objective points, while characters like Earl, amazing name, are designed to lay down heavy attacks in mid-range engagements. Regardless, each hunter comes with its own personality, loadout, and utility. Getting to grips with each is easy enough. Learning how to best utilize them in play is far more challenging. I know, so far. So Overwatch. Where Crucible carves its own path is in how the game is geared wholeheartedly towards offensive play, quick movement, and decisive decision-making. Most traditional hero shooters attempt to split their characters between archetypal roles such as tank, DPS, healer, and support, but you won't find any such delineation here. The hunters don't have a specific role to play, with each of the characters able to hold their own in combat or work to capture objectives if you know how to properly position and utilize them. Engagements are a push and pull between working to your character's strengths while attempting to mitigate the proficiencies of the foes that are in front of you. I mean, this sounds absolutely mental. I mean, what? This sounds crazy. I think I'm right in what I was saying before. This kind of sounds like a bit of Savage, a bit of Evolve, throw in some Overwatch. Like, you imagine, this is, what the hell? Anyway, they go on to say, this is crazy. Right, so they go on to say this. Speaking of levels, you'll have the ability to tailor the playstyles of each hunter. In addition to having unique weapons and abilities, each of the heroes has a unique set of upgrades. You'll lock into a particular character before a match begins. In an ideal world, the working with your team to strike a balance in squad composition in the name of synergy, and then you'll have just a few minutes to run through a skill tree, assigning 5 prospective upgrades that will unlock gradually throughout the game as you level up. This adds a really interesting dynamic to play. You're never quite certain what variant of hunter you'll be coming up against, and neither is the enemy. This ensures that the boundaries of engagements are constantly shifting all throughout a match. It may sound like a small shift on the traditional hero shooter setup, But in reality, it means you aren't just factoring on your skill and proficiency with any given character and their loadout, but factoring in an always evolving strategy as you and other hunters level up and gain power over time. What? Is this the way that Crucible carries this malleable... sorry, I'll start that again. I'm getting carried away. You know, I'm not even going to edit this out of it. I'll leave it in. I'll leave it in. It's the way that Crucible carries its malleable approach to heroes into the battlefield that really catches the attention, though. Once you hit the planet's surface, the game strikes a strange balance. There's a third-person Overwatch element to it, of course, skill-based shooters in which you must account for positioning, outline hazards, and balancing your mobility against your offensive and defensive capabilities, but there are other creeping influences too. Running the gamut between Turtle Rock Studios Evolve, hey, that's what I said, and FASA's interactive... and Shadowrun. Yeah, it's kind of like Shadowrun as well. What? Or it sounds like it. What the hell? Ladies and gentlemen, I mean, I just don't... I'm a bit taken aback by this, because you think of it this way. I'm looking forward to Overwatch 2. And we know Overwatch 2 is going to have PvE missions, and they're very much PvE. They're not mixing PvP with PvE. You know, you imagine if you're doing a mission... I mean, maybe Overwatch 2 does go this way, I don't know. But you imagine playing a mission in which you're fighting against other groups of players. Like maybe actually other players are playing as Talon and you're playing as like Overwatch and you're going against each other to complete a goal. That would be sick. It feels like this Crucible game seems to be doing that, but it's dropping you into a world if you play, I guess, Alpha Hunters or even the mode where you kill the bosses. You're basically dropping onto a planet. You're trying to kill the local NPCs and PvE characters to get levels, which then allow you to kill the PvP. What the hell? This just sounds sick. Guys, I've been Stylosa, and thank you for watching the video. I'm going to give this a try on the 20th and see what this is, because this could be a really, really good game. The visuals look quite impressive to me as well. And of course, it's free to play, so yeah. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below, guys. This could be a really good game. Catch you on the next one.
Hello, all you beautiful people out there. What is going on? It's your friend Britick coming at
Britick
you with another video. And today we are going to be talking about a game that kind of came out of nowhere, just recently launched a trailer, but it's actually coming out this month, and it looks like Paragon and Gigantic had a baby. Not actually, but it just looks as if the game sprouted from those games. And so the more I look at this game, the more I want to play it, the more I want to stream it, the more I want to make YouTube videos about it. And we're talking about Crucible. Crucible is from Amazon Games. That's right, Amazon has a game studio, so you know this has the AAA development power behind it. Crucible is really interesting because there are multiple game modes that mix PvE with PvP. And while it's more like Gigantic than Paragon, which is good because I unfortunately never got a chance to play Gigantic. I would have loved to have to try it, and now I get a chance to try it, which is really, really cool. But it has this kind of Paragon feel to it. Just, I don't know what it is. It just reminds me a little bit of Paragon. I have no clue what it is. It's not a MOBA per se. There are PvE mechanics. There's farming involved where you have to get the stuff called Essence instead of gold to get yourself some upgrades and stuff. But it's just, I don't know what it is. I really don't know, because you could be super picky about it. But it still looks awesome, and I want to try this game out so much. So there's a couple different game modes. There's a 4v4 game mode called Heart of the Hives, where you have to kill these giant monsters. You're versing against another team of 4, and you basically have to kill these giant beasts and harvest their hearts. First one to collect 3 hearts wins. There's a bunch of different characters that have a bunch of different strengths, but they don't necessarily have roles like in a MOBA. Like, it's not like you have a support and a jungler and a mid laner. They're kind of just their own characters with their own kits, and you can just be really good with one and just one-trick them all the time, or maybe you and your pals can try and get some more synergy going. Maybe there are some kits that work better with others. I don't know. That's gonna have to be left to the guides that I eventually come out with for this game. So we'll find out then. But another mode that's really interesting is called Alpha Hunters, where there are 8 teams of 2 people. And it's kind of like a battle royale where the last duo standing wins, but it has this really interesting new mechanic that we haven't seen before, where if your duo partner dies, you can actually make a new partnership with another person who is all alone, who's had their partner die. But at any time, you can break this partnership and shoot your partner in the back, basically. When you get to the last 3 people standing, all partnerships are disbanded, and you have like this trucks can stand off type thing. It was really, really interesting, really cool concept that I want to try out, and I'm excited to see how that plays out. And then there is a final game mode with harvesters. This is an 8 versus 8 game mode, just giant ground war type game mode where you basically just have to capture and hold objectives. So a lot of versatility in this game. Also, a lot of potential for growth. I see a lot of good stuff coming out of this, and another thing that I noticed while watching this game is it's very easy to watch on the eye. It's really cool to watch, which is probably why I got Paragon Bobs from it, because when I saw Paragon, I knew from the get-go that this game had a massive potential to be huge in the esports market. And I'm really big into esports, so I try and just look out for games like that. I really enjoy games like that. And this game right here gives me those same exact vibes, and I want to try it, I want to play it, I want to stream it, all that stuff. You guys know me. Something to just kind of pass the time. We're still going to be waiting for Fault. We're still going to be waiting for those post-Paragon projects, but this is something real, for lack of a better term. Okay, this is something that's happening on May 20th. It's backed by Amazon. Amazon also owns Twitch, so obviously they're going to try to incorporate some sort of thing with Twitch, with esports, with a competitive scene. This just looks like that next game, and I'm really excited to try it, and I hope you guys are excited to see it, because I think it could be lots of fun. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, drop a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And as always, make sure to have a wonderful day. Peace. Going around the long way. I should have stuck it.
Today we're talking about Crucible again, the upcoming game by Amazon that's somewhere in the third-person hero shooter slash melee slash MOBA genre, depending on how exactly you want to look at it, and that has many similarities with Gigantic, and we are going to look at Drakal specifically because he also has a lot of similarities with someone from Gigantic, and that is Margrave, the Margrave. There's some visual overlap between the two, but especially in terms of abilities, you can definitely see some similarities when we talk about them, which we're going to do in a second. And I would go as far as saying that Drakal's abilities are actually more interesting. If you've played the Margrave before, you probably have an easy time transitioning, but Drakal just offers a little bit more in terms of high-level plays, I think, because he has some more skill shot implementation and is a little bit less tanky, so you have to make a few more decisions in that regard. He also has a very unique mechanic with multiple abilities that I haven't seen on any other character in Crucible yet, so I think he's very cool overall. Today we're first going to have a look at his stats, then look at his abilities and the upgrades for those, and then at the end we're going to dive into his lore a little bit. Quick note before we dive in, if this is the first video on my channel that you stumble across, my name is Duke Sloth and I will be making Crucible content on the regular, and I already have quite a few videos as well, so feel free to subscribe if you want to stay updated for that. Now let's look at his stats. The first thing we're going to look at here is the defense and the health. Both is around the mid-range. It's not the lowest, but also not the highest. And that's kind of what we can tell in the in-game footage as well, because all the HP values we see here are around 1000 plus. So I guess he starts with 1000 health and then scales up a little bit from there, meaning he would be in the mid-range of characters, while some squishier ones have 600, but I've also seen some characters with 2000 plus health. His range is very low, which is unsurprising for a melee character. His mobility and his damage are also both around the medium level, which I find a little bit surprising, because he looks like a very damagey character, and you would think that if he's a melee then he would have to put out some more damage, but the stat that is really high for him is control. There are multiple different types of crowd control abilities in his kit, so this is not entirely surprising, though I do think it's surprising that it's basically almost a maximum rating. There are some more effects in his upgrades that can maybe explain this, because that gives him more control overall. And speaking of upgrades, let's look at his abilities and upgrades. His first ability, so to speak, is just his basic attack, which is Chop, strike with Vibrant Axe. However, different from most other characters, he actually has multiple upgrades for this already on level 1. And they make for very different playstyles. The first one is Second Wind. Successful chop attacks reduce the cooldown of your rush by 1 second. Rush, we'll get to later, rush is his dash. So this will decrease the cooldown of your main mobility or dash quite drastically if you hit the enemies with your basic attacks multiple times. Alternatively, on the same level, there's another upgrade also for your chop, and that is Maiming Blow. Chop inflicts damage over time against targets with less than 50% health. Very interesting. We don't know how much damage over time this will be, so it's gonna be a very tough decision between either having more mobility or more direct damage. Normally we will now go through the other abilities first, but because of how Drakal's abilities work, we have to swap the order around a little bit. So the next ability we're talking about is the right click. That is Sonic Pulse. Fires Sonic Pulse from Vibran X. Relatively straightforward ability in its visuals, at least. It's just a more ranged attack on this character. This ability apparently has a 3 seconds cooldown, so very spammable really. And that is important because of the upgrades this ability has, because you have to keep in mind that you can use it very often. The first one is on level 3, and that is Incoming. Sonic Pulse destroys enemy projectiles. This one is obviously one where you have to be relatively skilled and well timing this ability all the time so that you can prevent shots from hitting you. It also depends a little bit on which projectiles it will work for exactly, but overall it sounds like a very strong mechanic in the hands of a skilled player. On level 5 there's an additional upgrade which I think is even more interesting, and that is Sonic Shock. Sonic Pulse slows targets by 25% for 3 seconds. Now a 25% slow by itself is okay. I think it's beneficial, especially when you're a melee character and you have to close the distance, but it's not necessarily super crazy. What makes it crazy is that the ability has a 3 seconds cooldown, at least roughly, and the ability slows for 3 seconds. So effectively, if you keep spamming the ability on the same target and they don't juke it, you will have them slowed by 25% all the time, and that sounds massive to me if you're a melee character trying to stick to an enemy. That's probably also why it's a level 5 upgrade. And that brings us to his next ability, which, if we match it up with the gameplay footage, is his Q, and that is Enraged Roar. You become enraged. Choose between a life-stealing claw attack or a ranged grab attack. 11 seconds cooldown roughly. So this ability gives you a choice, and that is the unique part of his kit, and this is something we'll see with the next ability as well. You can either go for Enraged Claw. While enraged, Chop, so your left mouse click, becomes Enraged Claw, a claw attack that generates healing over time. So this is a self-heal at the same time. The alternative is Enraged Grab. While enraged, Sonic Pulse becomes Enraged Grab, a short-range attack that pulls one enemy towards you. So this is a typical hook or grappling skill, like for example Rodok has or Pudge has, or whoever we look at, something we see in a lot of games. But in this case you have to make a decision. You can either go for your self-heal and damage, or you can go for the hook. You can't do both. This ability only has one upgrade on level 5, which affects either of those forms I think, because it's called Abs of Plasteel, and the effect is Enraged, makes you go invulnerable for 1.5 seconds. I'm pretty sure that happens in either scenario, so you're just invulnerable as soon as you use the ability, and then you can still choose which version of it you will use. His other ability, his E, again has the same 2 options. This is Resonating X. Your X hums with power. Choose between a spinning damage over time area attack or a stunning area attack. Both seem to have a 12 seconds cooldown. The Resonating Spin is, while resonating, Chop becomes Resonating Spin, a spinning attack that bleeds all enemies. Bleed, I guess, implies that it's a damage over time. The alternative option is Resonating Quake. While resonating, Sonic Pulse becomes a Resonating Quake, a shockwave attack that stuns and damages nearby opponents. So both of these are more the AoE damaging tools. Which one is more beneficial in which situation is hard to say, it depends a lot on the damage. Obviously CC is very nice for your team. At the same time I guess AoE damage is also very useful, so it's gonna be interesting to find out when to use which one of these. Both ability options here actually don't have any upgrades at all. And then we have the mobility ability, Rush, which I already briefly mentioned. That's the shift, where you dash forward in the direction your camera is facing. It's a cooldown of 12 seconds, but again you can reduce this if you level the second wind upgrade, so that your basic attacks will reduce the cooldown by 1 second. There is also a node for another dash, and that is Jink. Drakal jets forward in the current direction, but this is not shown in the trailer any further than that. It just is listed on the wiki so far. You may have noticed that these were very few upgrades so far, and that is because Drakal has a lot of upgrades that aren't specifically tied to one ability. The first one is Get 'em Got It, which is a level 1 upgrade. The description of this is that quick melee attacks cause vulnerability for 3 seconds. So it seems like there is another form of attack, a quick melee attack. I've already seen this on multiple characters. So I guess a classic melee button for ranged characters as well. And that causes this vulnerability effect, which we also already saw in some other characters. Assuming this is some sort of protection reduction or damage increase, we would be able to combine that with his slow, and then every 3 seconds you slow the enemy with your right click, and then quick melee them in order to make them vulnerable. And then for those 3 seconds, they would, well, be more vulnerable to attacks, which means you could just maim down on them at all times. Which sounds very, very scary when you combine both. However, you would lose any benefits to your normal basic attack, so maybe this is not necessarily the easiest one to use for beginner players. The level 2 upgrade is Tough It Out. 25% of incoming normal damage to you becomes damage over time. This essentially means that you have more ways of self-healing in between, which can be neat sometimes, or maybe dish out some more damage before you die. On level 3, there's the upgrade Okay, Now I'm Mad. Damage multiplier plus 15% when below 50% health. How useful 15% is exactly depends a lot on the exact circumstances and how that's calculated, but usually a 15% multiplier would be quite a solid factor. Either way, there's definitely some level of risk taker spec. The next one, also a level 3 upgrade that you could choose, it has a very different playstyle focus, and that is Blood Tracker. You attack targets with damage over time within 80 meters. How far 80 meters is in this game we yet have to find out, but obviously this synergizes with his Maiming Blow upgrade that inflicts damage over time to enemies automatically, and maybe also with his other ability that potentially has that bleed effect, which might be damage over time too. And last but not least, there is a level 4 upgrade called Push Through the Pain. Damage does not interrupt medkit use. This is interesting because if you have the level 2 upgrade, which you will automatically get, then you have some damage that is damage over time to you, and that is something you can heal against with a medkit, and if damage doesn't interrupt that, then it means that effectively you can survive situations where you'd otherwise be dead because you can just use a medkit while the dot slowly ticks on you, and that allows you to survive. So generally speaking, despite being a relatively straightforward melee character, Drakal has a lot of depth in his abilities and especially his upgrades that allow for very different playstyles, and even as an enemy, you kind of want to know which one you're in for because you might be hit by surprising amounts of damage in one way or another. Before we jump into the lore, a quick reminder that if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, feel free to sub button, the bell if you want to be updated for future closer looks for Crucible characters. Or
that character's going to be hard to learn, I'm pretty sure.
And now let's have a look at his description. Drakal is the nastiest example of a nasty warlike race. His combination of brute force and psychotic ferocity make him one of the most dangerous fighters in the galaxy. Background. The Craig are known throughout the Orion Arm for their exceptional brutality. That might contextualize the scale of attitude problem implicit in the fact that Drakal is so bloodthirsty that his own war clan sent him into exile. Happily for Drakal, the galaxy is full of opportunities for cruel beings who are willing to do anything, so long as it's violent, for the right price. Drakal has thoroughly enjoyed a long career of bringing his unique approach to problem solving to all manners of situations, from deterring invasive species to resolving diplomatic tensions. Most recently, he has been contracted to acquire some essence samples for the War Mistress of Karta. It's a new situation, but the solution is the same as it always is. Repeated and gleeful application of his sonic axe. Personal file. Drakal is what I like to call a liability. He loves swinging that axe of his, and he doesn't always know when to stop. That's probably why his clan kicked him out. Drakal loves violence, pure and simple. Essence is just an excuse for him to go down and cause mayhem. Drakal always seems to be enjoying himself. Never stops smiling. At least one of us is having a good time. By Lawrence Thibault, commander of the Crucible Orbital Station. And that is it for Drakal. I honestly find him super interesting, and I think he might actually...
He's going to be really rough to learn how to play.
Hey guys, how's it going? It's Baggins here, and welcome back to another Crucible video. Now, over the past few days, I've been going over all the footage we have of Crucible so far, because what else is there to do in a lockdown? And I feel like I may have found a few juicy pieces of information that some of you may have overlooked. Let's go over all of that in today's new video. So everything we've seen
You and
from
me both, my
Crucible
friend.
so far
You and
on
me
the
both.
videos and articles all seem to feature the same art style for the map. If we look over the footage, even when the game mode is changing, it does appear as though the map that the characters are playing on is the same. Now, for some of you, the idea that Crucible may only have one map maybe isn't too much of a surprise. A lot of people have labeled Crucible a MOBA-esque type of game, and if we look at other popular MOBAs in the past, one that Crucible is often compared to is Paragon, and I believe in Paragon there was only one map. In League of Legends, at least for the Premier game mode, there is one map, and again in Smite there is also just the one map. However, if you play the different game modes in League of Legends and Smite, depending on whether you're doing a 3v3, a 1v1, something like that, the map does change. However, looking through all of the footage from Crucible so far, it does appear that we're just going to be playing on one map. Now, there could be a bunch of reasons behind this. If the game is designed to support a competitive format, obviously having one map allows them to balance the game better for all characters. And also, it does appear that the map seems to have certain interactive elements. For instance, if we look through various clips of Crucible, there seems to be a number of situations where characters go invisible. Now, frequently we do see this Tosca, squirrel, cat lady going invisible, and I know some of you guys may think, well, Baggins, what if that's just part of a kit? But we also see Bug in this clip doing the same. Now, if we look through Bug's revealed abilities and his talents, it doesn't look like anywhere in his kit does it say he can go invisible, which leads me to believe that there are these yellow pods we see around the map, and when people shoot them, they seem to burst and provide a cloud that characters can walk into that gives them a temporary invisibility. Along with this, we also see multiple clips throughout Crucible's footage of characters shooting at these pink pods on the ceiling or on the walls, which seem to spray out goo and damage or kill characters. And then we also have these pink spike pods on the ground as well, which again seem to be interactable with. You can shoot them and they produce spikes, which again I'm going to assume do damage. Now, obviously, having these interactable elements on the map does set it aside from something like a Paladins or an Overwatch, where maybe there is like a lift that you can take up, but the idea that you can use parts of the map to damage other characters is generally unheard of in these other hero shooter games. So whilst those games do generally boast a variety of different maps that you can play the matches on, it does seem so far that Amazon and with Crucible, they are going for less is more, where right now, seeming at launch, we will have one map, but on that map will be a variety of different elements, including but not limited to these yellow invisibility pods, these spike pods, these goo pods on the wall and ceiling, and we've also seen these green pods in the back of some shots as well. However, I haven't actually managed to find any footage to show what these do yet. Green is obviously a color that's commonly associated with healing in a lot of games, but then again, when I think of damage, pink doesn't usually come to mind, so we couldn't say for certain that green would be associated with healing in Crucible. We'll have to wait and see until we get more footage in the future to properly determine what these green pods do. Now at this point, I kind of want to throw the question to you guys. What do you think about the idea of Crucible only having one map, especially if that map is used for all three game modes? We are purely just in speculation mode at this point. Just looking through the footage, it does seem as though the map is very similar throughout all the footage we've seen, but my understanding is Crucible is the name of the planet which these characters are fighting over right now. Essence is a rare resource that seems to occur naturally here on the planet of Crucible, and that's what the hunters are fighting over. Obviously, a planet is a pretty large location, but whether any colonization has happened on this planet, whether we'll see any buildings, obviously we do know we have the Essence stations, but have the hunters built a base of operations anywhere on Crucible? Well, so far from what we've seen, it doesn't look to be the case. Maybe Amazon are holding back on some map footage that we'll see at launch, or maybe it'll have to be something that is confirmed to be released later on after the game comes out. But yeah, really, that's all I had to talk about today, guys. I just wanted to get your thoughts and get your opinions on the idea of the game launching with just one map. Do you think that this will cause the game to get stale, even with the apparent inclusion of these interactive elements with the pods on the wall and the ceiling that allow you to turn invisible or deal damage to your enemies? It does seem from the footage where we see the map screen up some sort of dynamic events are happening mid-game as well. So I do have reason to believe that there is going to be a lot happening in a particular match of Crucible to make it different from the last one, regardless of which game mode you're playing. But ultimately, we'll have to wait and see. Here's hoping that Amazon will give us a little bit more information before the launch, but even if we don't get to see anything up until the release date, that's only just 9 days away from when this video came out. So as always, guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you go ahead and click that like button. Subscribe for more videos from me and for information on Crucible, and I'll see you guys all in the next one.
That guy's
Hey, what's going on,
astute.
friends, family? My name is Skylint. Welcome to my channel where I normally talk about brand new upcoming games, online experiences. I'm keeping the hype alive. And we got a new one, a free-to-play shooter called Crucible from Amazon Studios. I'm going to run down what this game has to offer, as well as my thoughts and feelings on the trailer so far and what we know about the game. So it's going to be releasing pretty quickly here, and they are, I guess, going to be ramping up PR pretty soon, pretty quickly. They're kind of just dropping this game, which leads me to believe that it's more of a B game kind of situation, at least compared to New World as well. But you guys should know immediately that they are different teams. I know it's like Amazon Studios, but it's different teams, and like the success of one doesn't impact the other. This is its own little thing. But anyways, Crucible, how do you guys feel about it? Let me know in the comments below. But if you guys don't know much about it, that's what this video is probably here for. So let's go ahead and do this. May 20th, dropping down free-to-play hero shooter. Now, I'd say just general hero shooter because it actually has 3 different game modes, which have kind of pretty big different ways to play. But it just, in general, I guess we can just talk about what you're seeing on the screen. How do you feel about this? Because to me, it reminds me a lot of some defunct hero shooters, such as Lawbreakers, maybe even a MOBA or two, such as like Paragon mainly. And it also kind of looks like the one that, yeah, actually, I want to say like the Warframe developers were trying to actually publish, The Amazing Eternals. It just has that same kind of graphic style where it's a little sci-fi, you know, it's got that very Unreal Engine look to it. And, you know, not very magical. It's not very cartoon, but there is a little bit of expressiveness to some of the characters. Definitely a little bit more than Paragon or The Amazing Eternals had for sure. So, I don't know. Maybe it's just colorful enough to work and not too ridiculous like we do see some hero shooters being. So, yeah. Anyways, that's just how it looks overall.
What's up, Len? How you doing?
It kind of is concerning that they are making a game that looks like this. I don't know. It's not as punchy as Overwatch. Like, let's just admit it. And even though it doesn't have the cheese of Paladins,
yes, Falcon.
you know, actually, a lot of people really like Paladins, and a lot of people do like cheesy aesthetics and cartoon aesthetics, and it's just it's timeless. But I think people are hungry, like just like they were for Paragon, for a non-cartoon exactly hero shooter. So this kind of has that Unreal feel, a little bit more realistic. A sci-fi is kind of a big bonus, even though Overwatch is sci-fi, but whatever. Yeah, I think some people could be interested, but I think a lot of us are going to have to agree that this looks like a B game. Just aesthetically, it does look high fidelity, but it just kind of lacks that punch. You know what I'm saying? But we'll see when we actually get into the game, because there's some games that have had a lot of punch, like Battleborn, and it's like too much punch. Like, it's literally punching you in the eyeballs. It's too fucking much. So, I don't know. Maybe this game's actually going to work out. Crucible, are you excited for it? Just immediately, first glance, let me know. But guys, Crucible, welcome. It's going to be a free-to-play, team-based, action-based shooter where your gameplay is defined by the choices you make. You're going to pick a hunter and join a match. You'll need to coordinate with your teammates, take advantage of your hunter's unique upgrades as you level up and adapt to the ever-changing conditions of battle. So this is going to be very similar to Gigantic. Yeah. Gigantic also had that MOBA element where you level up. And to an extent, Paladins has a progressive sort of element to its gameplay, but actually leveling up and maybe seeing the talent trees or what have you in this game, it might be more MOBA inspired, and that's something that's very exciting. And hero shooters already have that MOBA inspiration kind of inbred with itself, but it's really cool to see like such an impregnation of that concept of, yeah, no, we're gonna level and things are gonna get crazy, which is really cool, especially in a sci-fi setting. So here it says hunt, level, and adapt. We do have hunters. Why are they calling us hunters? That's also because the game has a PvE element, at least to one of the game modes. Yeah. Anyway, so each of Crucible's 10 hunters, which the game is going to be launching with, probably will have more later, they're going to come with their own unique set of abilities. So how you use them, up to you. Now, whether you join the fight as the evil genius Tesoa with her, what is that, acid scatter gun? Okay, sure. or the robot Bug and his seed pod turrets. There's a hunter to fit your playstyle. So I have to say, even though the characters themselves look very similar to many characters in many other games, those abilities sound really fun. They sound like some of the weirdest weapons that I've ever used inside of games, maybe like Unreal Tournament. Now, start strong. Begin every match on a level playing field, right? Just like a MOBA. Level 1, everything is even. However, each hunter has their full array of weapons and abilities at their disposal from the go, so you aren't going to be leveling up like, okay, this ability first, that ability. No, you're going to start everyone's even playing field with their full kit, but as time goes on, it's going to get wild. Yeah, so before each match, you're also going to be selecting upgrades to unlock as you level up. This almost sounds kind of like the loadout sort of thing that Paladins kind of has, or even Paragon sort of had to an extent. And this actually worries me depending on how they sell it. That was a big pay-to-win concern with Paragon. So with these upgrades, you can define how your hunter fights, bring along additional utility and tricks, or go all in with your damage output. That is up to you or what you can afford in the cash shop. I mean, we'll see. Again, there's no actual confirmation of how they're going to sell this, but I'm just saying in Paragon, you had to buy the cards first to then use in the MOBA. It'd be like having certain items locked, you know, whenever you play in a MOBA. Like you play Dota and then being like, oh, I can't get Shadow Blade. What? I can't get Blink Dagger? I have to buy that in the cash shop or get it in a loot box? See, that
guy has no fucking idea what the fuck he's talking about in Paragon. He didn't have to spend a single dollar in Paragon to unlock all the fucking cards in the game. Ignorant.
kind of stuff is bullshit. So please do not let that be the thing. But if it's kind of like a Call of Duty or Paladin style loadout thing, where you just have to pre-select, you know, your potential, and then when you get in game, you kind of select it, you know, based on what's going on as you play the game. I think that's fair. Just don't make it like a deck building sort of thing. Please don't. Yeah, leveling up. Essence. Essence is going to be the experience points or baubles that you have to collect. Essence is a strange substance with incredible properties, and it's the object of all the commotion on the planet Crucible. The planet's called Crucible, that's the namesake. You can get it from opponents and creatures you kill, or by controlling objectives. As you collect Essence, you level up. It's simple as that. And since you can get it in a number of different ways, then that's probably going to have a lot of different players playing in interesting approaches. You'll get to access your pre-selected upgrades with each of your first 5 levels. After that, more levels mean more power and health. And that kind of concerns me again, where it's like, okay, well, you know, for the first few levels, you have really creative, unique RPG mechanics, but then after that, you just become overpowered. That's just that kind of just seems like they're just Yahtzee, whatever, let's just throw this game out there. I don't know if it's as thought out as something like, you know, League of Legends, or even, you know, the way the balance that Overwatch has, or even Paladins, actually, with all of its refinement. But things can change. It's a free-to-play games as a service. We'll see. I mean, if you guys saw Paladins Alpha to what it is now, totally different game. Literally a different genre. But yeah, so they want you to adapt. You use your abilities and your wits to master the environment and battle conditions around you. Learn the lay of the land and use it to your advantage. Capitalize on events, grab all the essence you can, hunt down the opposition, and claim victory. So that's the basic general gist of the game as a whole, though there are 3 different game modes to actually concern yourself with as well. So one game mode is going to be focused on the PvEVP element. And that's probably going to be the selling point of Crucible, which they probably should have maybe focused on entirely. I'm not really sure. How do you guys feel about games having multiple game modes nowadays? It used to be the normal back in like Call of Duty days, Halo, big thing, Gears of War, even to an extent. But as time has gone on, really games have just focused on esports. And it seems like Crucible isn't really going to do that, and yet it is inspired by specifically esport games. So is it going to be like the cycle, where it's more of a casual kind of experience or not? But they do have PvEVP, so that's going to be big monsters, you got to hunt them down. And it seems like there's some interesting first-person shooter mechanics with them. Like you have to actually aim around, there's like these floating blobs or missiles coming at you, these little seedlings, and you got to fight giant monsters. Cool. But I don't know. I mean, is that actually going to be engaging, or is it going to be kind of similar to the jungle in a lot of MOBAs, where it's basically like you just stand still and just, you know, whack-a-mole? I don't know. Anyways, regardless though, there are some other game modes, if that's not really up your alley, of doing PvEVP, which by the way is like you fighting monsters as well as fighting another team. But there is a game mode also, it's objective based, it's 8 versus 8, which I think is really the lowest you can get to be considered a big team battle. That was the ground war in Call of Duty, as well as big team battle in Halo. So 8 versus 8 is starting to feel really big, and that would make this the biggest hero shooter other than some battle royale ones like Apex Legends. 8 versus 8 is pretty bombastic, that sounds pretty fun, but I don't think there's PvE elements in this game mode, but it is focused on just territory control, stuff like that, something I'm getting really freaking bored of inside of other team-based games like MMO Battlegrounds. It just seems like such a, you know, cop-out in a way, but we'll see how it actually operates. But then they also have another game mode, which is a battle royale, because of course they do. Yeah, hero shooter battle royale, but it's probably going to be small team, small squad kind of stuff. So more kept. And honestly, like I can't think of any battle royale that has a lower player count that is done very, very well. People love the like 40 and up player counts, you know, like especially like 99 players jump down and smash it out. That's, man, people really love that. So I don't know, Crucible is kind of like hitting half notes for a lot of, like, it's very sour, I think, to a lot of people. It's like, is this a good battle royale? Probably not. Is this the defining hero shooter PvEVP game? I guess, because like, what other ones are there? Not too many. We don't got Firefall anymore, and Overwatch 2 isn't quite out yet, and that's, I don't know, it's not PvEVP, so yeah, I don't know. Crucible could hit a distinct note, but I don't know. Is it going to be flat? Is it going to be sharp? I think it's gonna kind of miss the mark a little bit. I have to voice my concerns with that. Oh, by the way, I don't know, I'm actually reading on the Steam page right now, so let's talk about the system requirements, because this game, unlike many others we've talked about recently, seems to be graphically intensive, which is something you normally do not want in a shooter, especially if it was going to be competitive. But I don't think this is aiming to be competitive in the same way Hunt Showdown isn't competitive. It's more of an experience itself. It's casual, I guess you can say. But yeah, well, it says that you need an Intel i5 of at least 3,570 the line, so that's cool. 8 gigabytes of RAM, and it says graphics GTX 660. That's for the minimum. Okay, that's minimum. And so my computer is stronger than that, and I have a very average PC. And for the recommended, it's like, yeah, also an i5, but at the 6,500 mark, or 3.2 gigahertz, sure. And a GTX 1060. Now that a GTX 1060 is kind of paralleled with I think the GTX 970, which is what I have. So I should be able to play this game, but there's also, let me just rant real quick, like, when they have minimum requirements and recommended requirements, they don't say at what frame rate and what resolution that these systems actually play at. You know, so is this game going to actually run at 144 hertz minimum, which is what I really need in a shooter personally? Is it going to perform that well on my system, which it should, according to their recommended specs? But I'm just very doubtful, but we'll see. Is it going to run well or not? But just comparing this to Valorant, is this going to compete with Valorant? No. Is it going to compete with Overwatch? No. This competes with games that have already died, such as Paragon, such as The Amazing Eternals, such as Lawbreakers. This is just appealing to that sort of lost crowd of people who haven't quite found their hero shooter fix just yet, which you should be playing games like Overwatch or Paladins, or maybe even Team Fortress 2. Actually, even though it's not quite a hero shooter, there's Rainbow Six Siege, and now, yeah, you do got your Valorant. So there is a good mix, or Apex Legends for Battle Royale. There's a good mix of hero shooters out there, but I really do want a Firefall-like game, which the cycle is, but it's not a hero shooter. You know, it doesn't have, not quite like that. So Crucible is trying to fill something that's very vague, and it's almost like it doesn't quite know what it wants to be. But then again, it's like, what even is the audience that wants this kind of game? I'm a very peculiar player, and I know that for a fact because I've done list videos talking about games like Crucible. I've done list videos talking about PvEVP games or asymmetrical multiplayer and a number of niche hero shooters. And I fondly can look back at defunct games, especially games like Firefall, and say, oh man, those were so cool, but not many people do as well. So is this going to be super popular? Is this going to be the big blockbuster seller? I'm pretty sure Amazon knows that it won't be as well. Is it going to be dead on arrival though? A few games lately that have had this sort of aesthetic and image and concept have been as well. There was a game called Bleeding Edge that recently came out that was supposed to be kind of like a MOBA battle thing. I know that's weird, a MOBA brawler, but yeah. These sort of in-between genre games, they're really hard sells, and that's really the problem because they're online games and they either want to be competitive or they need to have a community to drive them, especially a team-based game. So there's just a lot to worry about with the success of Crucible, but will it be fun? It probably will be fun. It'll probably look good. It'll probably have something distinct and interesting about it, but that didn't save Gigantic. That didn't save a bunch of other games. And will it save Crucible? Can the New World money for Amazon Studios, that notoriety, can it get some eyeballs on Crucible? Maybe that's what they're hoping. I don't know. And just keep in mind, actually, that Amazon Studios has failed a game before. They actually did try to make a sports MOBA thing. I think it was called Breakaway. And you try to throw a ball, like it's a MOBA, but it's about soccer kind of. It was fucking weird. But it had some cool building concepts. Anyways, so Crucible as a shooter and as a hero shooter fan, look, I'm looking forward to it, especially because of that PvEVP mode. But do I see myself playing it consistently and making tons of content on it? No. And I think immediately, as soon as you clicked on this video, or even when the first time
do I have a main for this game already? I wouldn't say I have a main.
Maybe a dead on arrival game. There's just something
maybe
about
Bug.
It, right? You could just tell.
Maybe Tosca.
And maybe it's just because a lot of other games that have looked like this have just been instantaneously dead on arrival, or maybe the games that it kind of is borrowing from and they think it's unique from taking all these ideas and putting it together, well, they're directly competing with those huge, massive games, even if technically this game is unique. So, as much as I want to promote it and talk about it, which I am, hey, there's a game called Crucible, I'm also saying, you know, be a little bit wary. At least, though, it's going to be free to play. So, that's super exciting. Anyways, the developer is Relentless Studios, publisher Amazon Games, comes out May 20th, and it's going to be free to play. Here we go, Crucible, the new hero shooter thing with a couple different game modes, and I don't know, it's, again, hard sell. It's even hard just to describe it in a YouTube video. But much love, keep the hype alive. My name is Skylint, and I'll see you again next time.
Today we are talking about a new feature in Crucible that was announced on the wiki yesterday, which are events in the game that drastically affect how the game will play in each individual round. Before you jump into that, a quick note: if you aren't aware of what Crucible is yet, feel free to check out the link above where I have a bit of a summary. And also, if you're new to the channel and this is my first video that you're checking out, feel free to hit the sub button and maybe the bell if you want to get notified of future Crucible videos. And now let's jump into events. So during each game you can have a set of different events that can take place.
Lily, which one are you gonna main? Do you know yet?
There are starting events, which seem to always be there. There are no restrictions on those. There are critical events, of which you can have
Hey, let me
zero.
pause this real quick. I'm not an idiot, right, Lily? It's not Crucible, it's Crucible, right? I don't want to be an idiot. What's up, Elo? How you doing, buddy? Yeah, I've been busy, man. I've been busy, but things are good. Crucible. I wanted to rip my ears off. Ugh. You know, Crucible. That's what I'm saying, Crucible. I'm doing good, yo. But, you know, I don't know who I'm going to main here yet. I really don't know. I think that he had some good points in his video. You know, hold on. So I think that he had some good points that he made. I think he made some unfair comparisons, and I think that he really misunderstood Paragon, because he said it was pay to win for some reason, and it wasn't. Today is not the 20th. It is the 19th right now. One more day, man. Well, less than one more day, like 20 hours until it's technically the 20th. But I think he had some fair points. I think that the niche market for this type of game is just that. It's a niche market. But I think that they have the money and the reach to support this type of game. Yeah, dude, it's free to play. You can get it on Steam, man. Head over to that Steam page. I do have a few concerns with this game, and hopefully they'll be addressed at some point. But you know, we'll have to see how it pans out.
0 to 2 per match, and there are major events of which you can have up to 6, including the critical events. So you can't have more than 6 events in total, it seems, and you can have only 6 major events, or maybe some major events and some critical events. And while this is probably not a super unique concept, I'm sure something like this has been used in other games, I really like the implementation here because I think it's a very smart move to keep a game interesting that revolves around, well, usually the same game mode or one of the 3 same game modes on the same map from what we know so far. So it would be very cool to get some other ways to spice it up, and this is one of those. The starting events are specific to the Alpha Hunters matches and are only active in the beginning of that mode, so they are not in the Heart of the Hives mode or the Harvester Command mode, and there are only 3 of them as well. Critical events are very rare, but they can provide massive advantages to your team or to your character. there is no mention here of which mode they're in. Major events are events that occur frequently while on Planet Crucible, and they can give you various boosts which are typically not as extreme as the ones from the critical events. So the starting events are the following. Spitter Colony. A dense cluster of spitters is inside the containment barrier, providing a valuable prize for daring hunters. Just proceed with caution. So this sounds like it's just a bunch of enemies that can either be used to farm XP or can also maybe be a problem for you if they start attacking you while you're doing something else. Likewise, there's the Stomper Herd, which is the same thing as this, but only with Stompers instead. Another type of enemy. And then there's the Supply Cache. This drops a cluster of medkits on the ground, which you can pick up and use, I guess. And that brings us to the critical events, the really big ones. The first one here is Damage Energizer. The unity is remotely energizing all hunters' weapons, increasing their lethality. For the next 120 seconds, every hunter is granted a 50% damage boost. That sounds absolutely massive. It specifically mentions the hunter's weapons here, so I'm not sure if it's just for the normal shots or for your abilities as well, but either way, 50% is going to be huge. And I'm also not sure if this means that everyone just gets it at the same time, but it sounds like it. It sounds like it's just a map-wide damage increase. The next one is Essence Canisters. A shuttle carrying a shipment of essence has crashed, scattering locked essence containers across the surface of Crucible. The Unity has dropped a couple of unlocking stations to the surface that will unlock these containers. So I guess these give you a way to unlock a significant portion of extra XP, which is what Essence essentially is, allowing you to level up quicker. In the same vein, the next
I do believe it has
event is Essence Eruption. A large upwelling of essence is violently boiling up from the ground that deals damage to players through essence puddles all around the map. This event lasts for 120 seconds, and each pool grants 200 essence in Alpha Hunters and 500 essence in Heart of the Hives. So this is a very interesting mechanic because on one hand it gives you extra essence, extra XP, but on the other hand you take damage for getting it from what it sounds like. So it's kind of a risky trade-off, especially in modes where you only have one life, such as Alpha Hunters. The essence difference here also is probably explained by the different team sizes in both modes. Keep in mind that there is no mention of the Harvester command here, so maybe this event doesn't exist there. And that is something we'll see with other events as well. The next one is Essence Siphon. The Unity is beaming down a device that can leach essence directly from the environment at an impressive rate. Whoever is holding the extractor will be collecting a lot of essence continually, but is revealed to all enemy hunters. In Alpha Hunters, essence is granted at 400 per second. In Heart of the Hives, the rate is 75 per second.
75 essence per second? 75 per second. No fucking way.
That's because you essentially only have one life and everyone can see you, which is not a good situation to be in most of the time. But even a rate of 75 sounds like a lot, considering in the previous event we saw that for an Essence Eruption you get 500 Essence, which is something you would get in just a few seconds with a rate of 75. By holding this for a minute you would get 4,500 Essence, and I guess you can't really get that much Essence from Essence Eruptions at the same time, even if you run wildly across the map, and that's already an event that gives you more Essence, so I assume in normal you get even less. The next event is Evolution. For the rest of the match, all creatures are stronger and grant more essence. This is very self-explanatory, just the mobs across the map being a bit stronger and more rewarding. Then there is Global Scanner. For a limited time, 60 seconds, all hunters gain awareness of all other hunters on the map. I guess this is again something that's for everyone on the map, and I don't even know if it has to be like collected or it just happens. And that is definitely something very interesting.
Been busy, man.
It can drastically change the dynamic of a game when you normally have to find out where your enemies are. And depending on the game mode, this can be quite impactful as well. The last one is Mini Harvesters. The Unity is prototyping miniaturized harvester technology and is dropping 10 of these smaller, more limited and rewarding harvesters into the safe zone. Each mini harvester grants 75 essence per 10 seconds. So 1/10 of what we get with the Essence Siphon, significantly less, but possibly still worth it. I mean, it's extra XP and you also don't run the risk of being seen by enemies because of it, so it's just a nice little bonus. I don't know how many players can pick these up at the same time, if it's just something that everyone will just try to collect one of, or if they're all in the same place, but that's something we'll have to find out. And that brings us to the major events. Here, the first one is Bionic Converter. Permanent object. Interacting with this drains max health and grants a high amount of essence. Stops when the hunter reaches 100 health or breaks interact. So what I'm a bit confused about here is that it says drains a max health. If this means that it actually reduces your maximum health or just drains health from you. If it reduces your maximum health, it's a massive risk. I doubt it's that though. I think it's just gonna be reducing your current health and then you can heal back up afterwards. In which case it would be very useful for characters that have some way of healing quicker or regenerating health packs or something, which we have a few of. So this could be very useful depending on who you're playing. On other characters it could be very punishing, and camping near that thing could also be very interesting to get easy picks on the enemy. The next one is Cloak Plant Bloom. A few more cloak plants appear on the surface of Crucible. We've actually seen those. I think this is these plants that make
Not
you
quite,
invisible.
but I'm pretty
It would
fucking
make
close
sense with
to
the
it.
Cloak plant. So if it's that, then it just allows more stealth
Thanks
plays
for the follow,
across the
Louis.
map, which would be interesting. Then we have Damage Boost Pods. Drops a bunch of small pods that increase individual damage by a tiny degree. This doesn't specify if it's permanent, if you lose this, if you die or something, so it's really hard to say how strong this will be. With the next one it's a bit easier, that is Damage Amplifiers. Objectives dropped around the map that confer increased damage to a hunter and their team once captured. The damage increase per objective is 12% in Alpha Hunters, 8% in Heart of the Hives. Now, what exactly this means in terms of claiming this objective is not quite clear. It could technically be that somebody else can claim the amplifier afterwards, so you can kind of switch around between them. But either way, it's a pretty drastic damage increase. 8% permanent extra damage that the enemy doesn't get at the same time definitely sounds strong. And then we have Harvester Master Control. An objective that grants ownership of all harvesters to whoever captures it. This sounds like a very strong effect, considering that in some modes
I know the guild's really well.
I
We made
don't know if this is going to be available in every mode.
guild's doing really
if it is,
well.
then it's definitely something you want to look at in Harvester Command. And this can kind of create another objective to fight over while also fighting over the harvesters, because if one person is actually able to claim that,
I enjoy the
then
game
their
just
team
fine.
suddenly gets a massive boost. Next one is Health Boost Pods. Drops a bunch of small pods that heal and increase a max health by a tiny degree. Question is if they're all in the same area or different places, or how this bunch of small pods works, if one person can pick up multiple. So again, relatively hard to say like this. And then there's Health Amplifiers, which kind of works like damage amplifiers, only that in this case the increase is health. The health increase per objective is 15% in Alpha Hunters and 12% in
Thanks for the
Heart
follow,
of the
my
Hives,
dude.
and it's based on each hunter's max health at level 1. So if you leveled up and you have more health, that's not relevant for this effect. This scales with your base health only, and I think that's good for balance reasons. There is Interaction Shields. Grants hunters a capture
I've been
shield
playing.
that activates an overshield.
I've just been busy
equal
this
to
last week.
30% of base health.
I've been online
when
every
an
day, though.
interaction begins. The shield is removed when the interaction ends. This is very interesting because interactions are something that I think you'll have for pretty much anything you pick up on the map or anything you capture on the map. And if you are in a mode where capturing things is the primary goal, then obviously having an extra shield is very beneficial, so you can't die as easily while trying to claim something. Next up is Medkit Amplifier. Increases a hunter's medkit carrying capacity and fills their medkit inventory immediately. This one is interesting in multiple ways. I know that not every character has the same amount of medkit carrying capacity under all circumstances. There are certain things, certain upgrades that you can get to increase your capacity. So for some characters this will be more or less useful. And then obviously filling the inventory immediately is also very nice. You just get your medkits, and if you're in a bad situation otherwise, then you can heal up. Medical Station. Permanent objective that continuously heals hunters while they interact with it. Stops when at full health or the interact is broken. This may drastically shift the dynamic in a game as well. If this is really permanent for the entire game, then you could kind of return there between fights or try to go there on the way to fights and always make sure that you have full health that way, when otherwise maybe it's a lot harder to heal up if you have a non-healing character. So this could be very impactful depending on how much healing is available in general. Then there are regeneration amplifiers. Objectives dropped around the map that confer continuous regeneration bonus of 5 health per second to a hunter and their team once captured. Again, very, very interesting. It's something that will give you sustain throughout the entire match, it seems, unless another team can recapture this afterwards, which obviously is super nice for characters that don't have inherent sustain. And when you can disengage from a fight a bit and just regenerate a little bit, that is obviously
I could see
massive
that
as well. Even though 5
Fade.
health per second isn't super crazy, considering that some hunters have 2,000 plus health pools. Then we have the Scanning Station, permanent objective that displays all hunters' locations to whoever is standing on it. This is very fascinating. Also wonder if this is completely permanent, so you can walk back there to use it. But it seems to work very differently from the other objectives in that you just have to stand on it. And then we have the Spitter Colony. We already talked about that above. It's the same thing here once again. And the Stomping Herd is here as well again. But there's also the Stomper Gathering. For the rest of the match, all Stompers not engaged in combat will roam towards a single point on the map. This is very interesting to me, especially since I'm wondering how it's interacting with the Stomping Herd. So if there's Stomping Herds on the map, will they also follow the Stomper Gathering, or are they their own thing? And the fact that they're walking towards this, depending on where on the map they are, they might be far away. This could be very useful and not useful depending on how long you wait, I guess. If you go to that point after a while, then maybe a lot of Stompers would gather there and then you could farm a lot of XP there. Who knows? But it sounds like an interesting, different mechanic. And then we have a really big one, which is the Upgrade Station. Objective that adds the player's unselected tier 5 upgrade as though it has been selected pre-match. That is super crazy to me because the level 5 abilities for some characters, the upgrades, are very, very strong. So having 2 of those would completely change how your character feels in some situations, I think, depending on which characters again. But I don't know if this is something that we'll commonly see.
Is the alien chick with the rifle the one that
then we have the
Spider-Man
Victory
weapons around
Beacons,
everywhere?
an objective for
You know
Harvester
what-
Command.
I don't even know
mode
what you're
that
asking me.
grants a fixed number of points to the capturing team. Note that this is the only one that mentions the Harvester Command mode, so I'm really not sure which other ones are active in that mode. But I do think this could be interesting as well. Depending on how many points it gives, it might be worth more or less than just trying to capture the capture points in general. And again, that's something that could shift the dynamics quite a lot. As you can tell from this list, this is a massive amount of possible different interactions that can affect your game in one way or another, and I think that's really cool. I like that. I like that there's a lot of variety that should make game modes feel different whenever you play them. And obviously there's also the potential to add more of those at a later point, which could keep things interesting in the long run. Outside of that, Reddit user Chop75M has also pointed out that the 11th Hunter's silhouette was teased in the latest preview trailer, though we can't really tell much from this so far. It's a bit weird because the other ones are usually the face and a bit of the upper body, and this looks like it's arms and shoulder pads, or maybe it's just a very different looking face from what I'm expecting, but I'm sure we'll find out more about that in the future. And that is it for today. If you want to stay updated, yesterday I talked about Crucible, the new game by Amazon/Relentless Studios, which is kind of a shooter, MOBA, hero shooter mix type of game, and reminds me very much of Gigantic, which made me very happy, and apparently a lot of you enjoyed that a lot as well. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about one of the characters in detail, which is Bug, already a fan favorite for many, and I want to break down his story and everything a little bit, as well as going into his abilities and the upgrades and how that could synergize in specific builds. The information for this is stuff I pieced together from
I didn't even put that together, Cade. That could be very
on Reddit that's
true.
available about Bug, as well as his video, and look through all the different abilities and cooldowns there and everything. So that I actually got a decent amount of information. Of course, these are all just infos based on the videos we have so far. Before we dive in, if you're a new viewer to my channel and you maybe found me through Crucible, then feel free to click the sub button and maybe the bell to stay updated for more Crucible info as well as Smite information. And with that, let's jump in. We begin with the background. The Botani Mark I unit, designated Bug, was created for use on Crucible. The higher-ups at the Scalzi
What up, Dolo?
Dokani Mo
Good to see you, man.
had it prototyped as a test to see if androids can take over the production and recovery of the lucrative essence. To do this quickly and cheaply, they patched an experimental AI into a terraforming chassis. The result is a friendly, people-pleasing android who is good with plans and programmatically devoted to eradicating the competition when it comes to essence hunting. After the destruction of Colony Zero, Bug's software and weaponry packages were upgraded. Bug has come to think of the planet as his garden, which he must tend and protect. There's also the slight matter of his programming. Somehow, there's a slight corruption of Bug's AI. He intends to get to the bottom of it before anyone else finds out, and takes him away from his garden for decommissioning. Personal file. Bug wants to be friends with everyone. Unfortunately, he also wants to destroy anyone who's a threat to his garden, which is everyone. Makes things pretty awkward for the little guy. I've seen 1,000 Botanic Gardener bots in my career. They're cute, friendly, harmless. But this one's got upgrades. It's a tough world down there. Guess a gardener bot needs an extra strong pesticide, and a directive to kill intruders on sight. So based on that, we can tell that he'll probably not be as cute as he looks. And with that, let's jump into his stats. Generally speaking, Bug is heavily focused on control and mobility. He can dash around the map quite a lot, and he can set up his plan strategically to give him control over the map. His damage is average-ish, but his range is rather short, so he has to get in the middle of the fight. His defense is not the highest, but also not as low as it can get, while his health is relatively low. From what I was able to find out from the gameplay footage so far, I think his health starts at 600, and then the highest I've seen was 903 or so HP. Other units also start around 600-ish, but I've also seen tanky units with 2400 health, so he's really not towards the top end there. On the other hand, he can of course offset a fair bit of that through his high mobility. His primary weapon, a gun, is a sprayer that damages opponents and activates seed pods, which we'll get to in a bit. This weapon has a bit of an arc, so if you fire a projectile it goes up a little bit and then it drops down, which is also what limits his range. It has 15 ammo per mag, so you can afford to miss a few shots and you'll still not have to reload all too often. Now let's get to his abilities. Whenever I'm going to talk about an ability, I'm also going to talk about the potential upgrades for that same ability.
He's
got
some
connection here.
Ways to work around that.
The first ability are his thrusters. These thrusters allow you to propel yourself forward and vertically and basically allow you to float for a moment. It seems that this ability has no cooldown, but I'm not sure if it is unlimited charges. It was a bit hard to tell, but you can definitely use it quite a fair bit. This ability can be upgraded with a level 5 upgrade, and that is high grade biofuel, which gives you an initial burst of speed when using your thrusters. His second ability is Shield Burst. You, your seeds, your plants, and nearby allies gain a temporary overshield, which obviously blocks damage. This seems to have roughly a 20 seconds cooldown. If you level the Tech and Protect skill on level 3, then the shield burst amount is increased by 50%, so you can go quite tanky with this. His next ability, and probably most important ability, is Seed Pod. This fires a seed pod that can be activated by spraying or by shooting it with your normal gun. This ability seems to have roughly 4 seconds cooldown and stores 3 seeds at once. This can be upgraded with various skills throughout various levels. The first one is the level 1 ability Early Bloomers, with which you don't have to water the seed pods for them to be activated, and they will be activated right away. Additionally, another level 1 ability also indirectly affects this, and that's Onboard Diagnostics. Your medkit now regenerates every 30 seconds. It also creates a healing area for you, your plants, and allies. Then on level 3 you can unlock the upgrade Protective Husk. Seed pads are spawned with overshields. What's interesting here is that you can combine this with either of the level 1 skills, and either you make super tanky plants by having them have shields and also being able to heal them, or you make it so that they are shielded and they will attack right away because you don't have to water them. Either option really goes for interesting playstyles with the plants. There's an additional skill on level 3 that can also be utilized for this ability, and that is
Yes,
Booming
exactly.
Blossoms. Plants can be watered until they are overcharged, stunning nearby enemies. This is obviously very effective for a more aggressive playstyle, especially because you can basically stun someone between your other plants as well to damage them more. On level 5 you can also unlock Daisy Chain, which allows plants to attack one additional target through their ability, so a chain that goes from one to the next and damaging both of them. I imagine this will especially be useful in the 2v2 mode as well. So overall, a bunch of different damaging tools for this ability, as well as more tankiness to those pods and making them useful quicker. His last ability is also interesting. This is Crop Dust. Creates a slowing, damaging area effect beneath you with a 20 seconds cooldown. This ability is already upgradable on level 1 with High pH Mixture. Spray damage increased by 25% as damage over time. The ability can further be upgraded with the level 4 skill.
I'm pretty sure that spray damage is for his auto attack, but I don't know.
Or rather, it will be upgraded because this is the only skill. With No Weed Pesticide, Crop Dust applies vulnerability. I'm not entirely sure what this vulnerability does, so I can't speak on that in detail. Outside of that, you obviously have the Medkit as well, which will be upgraded by onboard diagnostics. It seems you can actually have multiple shots of the Medkit. I'm not sure how that works yet, but we've already talked about this one when we talked about the seeds. Other than that, there's one upgrade that is not tied to any ability, and that's Realigned Gyros. This increases your normal movement speed from 4.5 to 5.5 meters per second, just overall giving you more mobility. So generally speaking, we can very clearly tell that Bug will have a in and out playstyle where he can go around fights, look for engagements, but then also heavily disengage and disencourage enemies from chasing him by spraying behind him or putting strategic plants in the path. And he can also be more supporty. He can heal allies if that's the place that he wants to go for, and shield allies more. He can put some plants in bushes at scout and so on. And he can generally, I would say, be very annoying from how this kit works. I think it can be quite frustrating to fight against him with his high mobility, relatively small model, and the damaging plants attacking at the same time, and you not being able to get to him because of the dust that you have to deal with. That is all that we have for Bug so far. I hope this was interesting and insightful. I'm very much...
All you beautiful people out there, what is going on? It's from Barry coming fast with another video, and before we get into it, I just want to say thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Seriously, thank you for sticking around, for being on this wild ride with me, for helping me grow my channel in a time that was really weird after Paragon's death, where we didn't really have any talking about. And one of those is that, just like in Paragon, there's a ton of verticality in this game. A ton. There's characters that can fly. There's characters that can jump really high into the sky. Just a lot of verticality, a lot of angles, a lot of, places that you have to control on the map. Speaking of map control, there's a lot of rotation involved, which as a jungler main, I love rotating. There's farming, rotating, map awareness, map control. A lot of these elements that are in MOBAs like Paragon have to carry that knowledge over into this game, even though it's not a traditional 3-lane MOBA. In fact, this game is more like a hero shooter, kind of like Paladins or Overwatch. But it's really, really different still because of the way the mechanics work. It's not as simple or straightforward as what you would expect out of something like Overwatch or their game modes. There are way more objectives going on multiple times. There's just a lot to do. The map is huge. There's a lot of things to shoot and kill, and the synergies and the compositions between all these different hunters are just really interesting to take a look at. And that's another kind of feeling that I get, where it reminds me of a MOBA where you have these different compositions. Some are better than others. Some characters work well with others. You have tanky characters. You have shooters like carries, for example, that do a lot of damage. You have characters that can give other characters shields, like really supporty type. And it's just this culmination. It's like you took Paragon, you molded it into a clay ball, okay? And then you made something new out of it, but it's still made out of that same material. Because obviously they're different games, okay? Completely different genres, different games, different ways of playing the games. But there's just that feeling behind it where you have the verticality, you have the MOBA mechanics, or at least the MOBA knowledge that will help you carry over. You have the third-person angle with the action shooting going on. It's also heavily influenced by science fiction lore. Okay, the whole universe is sci-fi, like Paragon's was, and there's just a lot of depth to it. And every character.
I don't think I've been this excited for a game's release for a long time. Hi everyone, I'm Teeds, and in this video I'll be talking about everything we know so far about Amazon's new game, Crucible. Crucible is an upcoming free-to-play game developed by Relentless Studios and published by Amazon Games. Crucible is a team-based PvP shooter that is driven by the choices you make. The choices you make in this game matter, and in my opinion, gives a rather unique spin to the game. Crucible reminds me of a mix between Gigantic and Paragon, which were both amazing games. First, let's talk about Crucible as a whole, and then we'll dive into each topic more specifically. Crucible is set to release via Steam on May 20th on PC. Unfortunately, I do not have an idea if it will release on console. However, as someone who has
I just wanted to say that everyone that compares
played the game for testing and feedback, I can say that it's amazing, and I would be surprised if they did not release it on console. This is just my personal speculation. I am currently not allowed to talk about my experience with the game in detail, so I will only talk about the things that have been publicly released. Each match in Crucible is a fight for survival and control. You and your team will land on a jungle-themed planet filled with aliens. You and your team will need to work together to capture objectives, take down aliens, and ultimately defeat your opponents. The characters you'll be playing are called Essence Hunters. There are a total of 10 hunters in the game at the moment. The hunters you can play bring unique playstyles into the game, and you can also customize your playstyle within the hunter. Now let's talk game modes. There are 3 game modes in Crucible, each are very unique. First is Heart of the Hives. In Heart of the Hives, you'll be against one other team. This is in a 4v4 setting, and your goal is to capture 3 hearts within lethal drone spitting hives that spawn across the battlefield. The first team to capture 3 hearts is the winner, and to capture these hearts, your team will have to fight against the other while fighting the hive. Make sure you're in a good position to capture these hearts, as enemies lurking will be able to fight you off. Then we have Alpha Hunters. This is Crucible's version of the popular Battle Royale genre, except you will be paired up with a partner. There will be 8 teams of 2
I think we already know all
to
this.
be the last
Apex Legends shows off a brand new gameplay trailer for Loba, and Guild Wars 2 No Quarter update is coming very soon. All that and more, my name is Ethos, and this is Free to Play Weekly. First off in the news this week, Apex Legends posted a trailer for the game's next season last week, highlighting its latest legend Loba, as well as a few other things like season quests and a brand new battle pass. Titled Fortune's Favor, it will arrive on May 12th, so you don't have to wait too long to get into the action. Last month, we got word of the release of Crucible, Amazon Game Studios' free-to-play shooter that would fall in May. Last week, its Steam page revealed the exact date is Wednesday, May 20th. Crucible is described as a team-based action shooter driven by the choices you make, but the announcement video does go into
I got shit to talk about in 2 hours too.
Heart of the Hives is a 4v4 match where teams collect hearts left behind by Master's Hive creatures. Alpha Hunters sound like your standard battle royale, where 2 player teams compete for the last pair standing. And then there's Harvester Command, which features 2 teams of 8 competing to control Essence Harvesters, which
So I
sounds
ordered
like
food
a
an hour
typical
ago.
control point mode. Before each match, you'll select upgrades to equip that you'll level up by collecting Essence as the match goes on. The cast of characters looks like a very lot of humans, aliens, monsters, and cute little robots. There's 10 hunters in total, and there's a little bit of information about each of them on the Crucible website. It's a remarkably light amount of information for what's supposed to be a big release from a major studio, given the reception of the YouTube trailer, currently at about 40% negative. We have to admit that maybe that might have us a little bit worried about Crucible's prospects. Still, in a little over 2 weeks, we'll be able to judge it for ourselves, and we'll see if it was worth the year.
Wait. Hold on.
Will be called No Quarter.
He said that the release trailer was 40% negative. Hold on. I don't believe that at all. Where is their chance? I think they're gonna have an issue with the name Crucible because there's so many other things that are called Crucible. It's gonna be hard to monetize and SEO and all that shit. Hold on, let's play Crucible here.
You've got to kill the hives.
Nope, not that one. Right? Right? Where are their videos here? Where's their first look? Oh, damn. Their first look does have 771 downvotes. But why, though? Why is that got so many downvotes? That's bots, dudes. Bots are downvoting that shit. Oh, man. Baldur's Gate 3. I really want that game to come out. Like, badly. Like, badly, badly. Yep. I don't know what it is.
Hey there, folks. What's going on? It's Kodiak and Livid coming back at you in stereo, and today we are checking out Tosca, the angry evil genius.
Hey, what's going on, dude?
And Amazon Game Studios' upcoming title, Crucible. This is a free-to-play, third-person shooter, competitive PvEVP game. Man, that is a lot to say, and I am excited because this character looks so cool. Livid, what's going on, man? How you doing?
When?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Can't wait.
We're
to
already live.
I was checking out just some of the imagery of them beforehand, and she looks pretty neat. She looks like that angry, furry little psychopath that we all want to play deep down inside.
Oh yeah, could be an X Factor, 100%.
So without further ado, I think let's just jump right into it.
Do it.
Oh yeah.
The term mad scientist gets thrown around a lot, you know? But it doesn't really do Tosca justice.
Oh, look at that.
No,
Shotgun style.
She's more of a totally pissed off genius scientist.
I'm excited for the hordes of beggars.
Yeah, she's
Combination,
close.
huh? Add to that a pair of X-ray goggles that let her detect enemies.
There it is.
An explosive compound that
I don't have any.
slows them down.
Grenade,
I don't think anybody's gonna be begging me for anything, man.
Her allies. Plus, she can teleport through solid walls.
Oh yeah, why not?
So you can imagine why a creature so small sends opponents 3 times her size running. Hey, do me a favor. Don't tell her I called her small.
Eat sticky death.
Wow, really interesting take on the, frontline damage dealer. There's a lot to unpack here, so I mean, I don't even know where to start. What were your initial thoughts of her, man?
My initial thought is she's gonna be the bane of everyone's existence in this game because she looks like an absolute annoyance to capture on the field. Like she looks like like Tracer in a sense, like the dashing constant, really hard to catch. But the fact that you could just move through impassable barriers that no other character can move through, like her escape level.
I will be
is
streaming
above
gameplay,
any other
yes.
Character, I think, because of that fact. Like if you're in a building, like we don't know if there's buildings there, right? If you're in a building, you just go through the wall. And what are you gonna do? You have to go all the way around to the door to find her again. And by that, she's long gone.
Yeah, the ability to obscure enemy vision, know where enemies are, and to get away from enemies is insane. But it is countered by the fact that she has to be pretty close to use that acid gun, right? It's a shotgun style weapon.
Yeah, she has to be close up, which means, she's going to be really vulnerable in those brief moments that she's up close to you if you can catch her.
Right. So it's less about just staying there. She's not just a true shotgun character. It's about getting in, doing your damage, and getting the heck out because she's completely useless outside of, a 20-meter range. There's nothing that she can do. She's got her X-ray vision. That's got some sort of range to it. The grenade that we saw has range to it. The shotgun's got range to it. So it's a really interesting character archetype that they're building here.
Yeah, she plays like the kind of like obscure her team, figure out where they are, and then locate them and jump on them and get out of there. That's kind of like I think if she's on the team with that, most of the other characters on her team will probably have to be able to synergize with that. Able to also be able to get in, get out. If you really want to go for this hyper aggressive playstyle that she capitalizes on. or she's just a fat distraction for like a damage dealer that's sitting way off in the distance.
Right, and looking at her character sheet here, I just want to remind everybody what all of these are. At the top there, we've got health. Second one down is defense. Next one down is mobility. The next one down is control. Then we've got damage and then range. So looking at this, I mean, what's the takeaway? Look at that damage, man, skyrocketing.
Yeah, it looks like she's got one of the highest damage outputs in the game with that, which is it's pretty substantial. But if you look at her health pool too, that's very closely approaching like it. I think it's way lower than what this graph really even portrays. I think she might be like a pure glass cannon, like a couple taps she's out.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like it's all about doing that initial burst of damage, maybe getting a little bit of control with the way that she uses her Electro Cloud and her Acid Grenade. But other than that, it's about doing damage, bottom line.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right, so what about role on a team? Like, where is she going to fit on a team?
She's a frontliner. She's gonna catch people, or she's gonna be the main distraction, I think, for everybody. You know, if you see her coming in, expect to find someone else hanging back or at a distance or coming around from another side of you, because she wants the attention focused on her and to get away from you. Like, I don't think if she's jumping in like super aggressively, she's likely not coming in to just burst you down. If there's multiple of you around, she's there to cause a distraction. But conversely, if you're by yourself, she's likely there to kill you.
You see the game launches in an hour? Where do you see that the game launches in an hour at?
So, you know, those are the two kind of roles she's going to be. She's going to chase down solo targets and burst them down and get out of there, or she's just going to be pure distraction, get away, and let the other teammates do the work.
Right, and it's a thin line, right? It's a thin line between what a good Tosca player can do and a bad Tosca player can do, and that's because of the glass cannon build.
Yeah, 100% on that one.
I mean, if you just dive in there and you're a bad player, you're just going to get wiped every time, and you're going to be feeding your team.
And I don't even know how, you know, respawns or that kind of stuff work on this. So, you know, once we really get into that kind of stuff, that's going to be, you know, it could get even more high skill cap for players that capitalize on that.
All right, so what type of characters are going to counter Tosca?
So conversely, you know, characters that can obscure her own vision. So herself is her own direct counter. You'd be able to smoke cloud her teammates, or I think Azona can also cloak her teammates as well. So those kind of characters that obscure her vision to, you know, what she's going to be jumping into. Like if maybe you bait one person outside and you cloak the rest of your team, she thinks she's jumping on one person, and then all of a sudden there's 4 people there. You know, so those kind of things will really capitalize on her. I think anyone that can catch her mid blink, so Drakal, I think is going to be actually a pretty good direct counter, because he can kind of keep up with her speed wise.
If he can catch her.
If he can catch her, I mean, because the dashes I think can really keep up with her, as long as she's not going through physical surfaces, you know, which a good Tosca player should be doing, I think.
Right. And a good Tosca is going to be able to kite around a bad Drakal easily. I mean, specifically, you know, using those blinks, using that ability to get away from other characters. You know, in comparison, Drakal's only got that one kind of jet propulsion ability. A Tosca is going to be able to blink away, you know, 2-3 times. That's going to be insane.
So, you know,
Tomorrow.
I don't know if there's any other real. I mean, it counters is like high damage also, right? Because if they can pick her while she's jumping, she seems like she has a super low health pool. So again, with Azona, I know she's got. I keep talking about Azona, but it's just because I read some of her character stats and everything, and she seems like an absolute like hard hitting truck of a long range sniper. Right. So, you know, if she could pick you off, like if you blink somewhere, you're just carelessly using your blinks out in the wild, and she knows that she's not going to jump for a little bit, you know, 1 or 2 snipes is probably going to put an end to her.
All right, so let's quickly go through her essence upgrades real quick. Take us through tier 1 here.
So we get Smuggler's Compartment at level 1. It increases the starting medkits from 1 to 3. So we have a number now. You know, you get 1 medkit to 3. That's a lot of extra heals, right? And the maximum med capacity increases from 3 to 5. So it looks like we could pick some other medkits up on the field. And if you're able to carry around 5 medkits, that's a lot of healing potential on that character, which is great because, you know, she takes a couple shots, she's probably down to like, you know, a quarter health really quickly.
Right.
And then when we get into like Blink Booster, it increases the distance from 12.5 meters to 15 meters. So that's a substantial distance.
This is a Legion Gaming video on Tosca.
Right, and people may not think that sounds like a lot, but it is.
Because positioning is going to be absolute key with her.
Right.
And then her last upgrade on that tree is Finish Them. And it allows your melee attack to transform up to 80 dot damage to immediate damage.
Right, and we don't know necessarily how that melee ability is going to work yet. We saw it very briefly in the trailer there. We don't know exactly how that's going to work, but it's a damage output ability or passive ability.
Yeah.
So the tier 1 really goes in 3 different directions. One is about sustainability on the battlefield. The second one is about being able to maneuver and mobility. And the third one is about outright damage output.
Yeah, so she has a lot of build potential, I think, based on the situation.
For sure. All right, so let's move down to tier 2 here. Medical Mastery. Decrease the medkit activation time from 4 to 3.2 seconds. So this really ties into, obviously, Smuggler's Compartment, but a decent tier 2 passive.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of games, 0.8 seconds can mean the difference between that guy coming off the cliff finally and engaging you and you being sitting duck.
You can, yes.
Like, almost 1 second is nothing to laugh at when it comes to actual healing.
All right, take us through tier 3 here.
So for tier 3, it looks like we got that Rappy Shot Stabilizer. It allows her scattergun fire rate to increase by plus 10%, and the kick of the gun is reduced by 20%. So it increases her stability with her weapon, allowing you to be more precise with your hits when you're dashing in and out, trying to get enemies, and it just outputs more damage faster. So that's a straight DPS upgrade and just overall, quality of life. And then her other ability is other upgrade is Z-ray lenses. So X-ray goggles.
You guys can both
range
fight me for the
increases to
spot, man.
65 meters and affects 360 degrees. So that leads me to believe I had no idea that it only kind of affects in a frontal kind of cone probably for her. So that kind of upgrade is interesting because it allows her to AoE scan, which is really good and increases the distance. So that plays more into the mobility tree, knowing what's out there, knowing the threats, giving that intel to your team. And then her other upgrade on that tree is Alpha Spill. So Adhesive Alpha creates an AoE for 8 seconds that damages and slows enemies by 25% for 2 seconds. So it looks like it's like a shot, right? That she can shoot out and it causes it to... Oh, is that a grenade, I think?
That's her grenade. So basically, instead of being a direct attack grenade, a direct damage grenade, it's now an AoE ability. So something that would work on that 8v8 game mode, that could be, a game changer if you get a grenade that now has a big AoE.
Yeah, I mean, 8 seconds of slowing an enemy for 20... So it's 8 seconds of damage, right? And then 25% slow for 2 seconds if they're sitting in that cloud, which also causes or that's just the sticky one, right?
This is grenade. Yep. So I mean, it's control, it's utility, which she doesn't have a lot of with her basic toolkit. So that adds another layer to her gameplay.
That's dot damage, right? So it's 8 seconds of dot damage. That
I think so.
Capitalizes on finish them, which turns into immediate damage.
So I mean, I don't know if it's dot damage or if it's just an AoE that lasts for 8 seconds, and if you're standing in it, you take damage. If it also applies a dot, that could be something. But I think it's just if you're standing in it, you're going to take damage. But I'm not sure how the slow works, because if you stand in it, then you're slowed for 2 seconds. Does it keep refreshing if you're in it? Hard to say.
Yeah, that is hard to say.
Not a lot of info there. But I mean, obviously, again, with this tier, we've got 3 different categories. We've got the damage output, we've got the mobility and the intel, and then we've got the utility. So once again, it's all about the build with Tosca, how you play this character.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so tier 4 here, multi-charged blink vest. You got to pick this one. Number of blinks increased from 2 to 3. So once you reach level 4, you're going to get 3 blinks. And as we talked about before, that's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a 33% increase to your mobility. Or no more, right?
I mean, you're just going to be able to get away one more time. You're going to be able to engage a little bit easier. I mean, it's you got to get to level 4. That's a necessity.
So if we go down to level 5 now, it looks like it also can capitalize. We got explosive teleport. So every time you blink, you leave behind a bomb that detonates after 1 second, and it blinds enemies. So it further increases her mobility in a sense, because when you blink, enemies get blinded. They're not going to know what direction you might do a second blink. And if they're like dashing, through that while they're blinded, they might land in the second blink that then also drops another blinding grenade. So you can even do this kind of thing where if you don't blink into a fight and you're able to just kind of get in without being really noticed, and you get off like 3 blinks in the middle of a fight, you have like 3 seconds of blind.
We talked about, catching.
I ain't got no keys.
I mean, talk about making it even
I
harder.
got none, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So people that reach level 5, sooner rather than later are going to be a lot harder to take out.
And what's that other ability there? That one seems cool too.
Isochronal Cloud. So the number of Electro Cloud charges increases from 1 to 3. So she's got 3 charges on that now. The clouds will, however, be smaller, but it decreases the cooldown by 9 seconds. So you're dealing with a smaller AoE, but you can hide your allies and yourself in different locations. So you can blink Electro Cloud, blink Electro Cloud, blink Electro Cloud, and they just have no idea where you're at.
I mean, again, it's all about catching this character. If you get Tosca in the hands of somebody that knows the mobility, who really can manipulate this character in an effective way, deadly. I mean, just pure damage on the battlefield.
Yeah, it's terrifying actually. Said it was going to be a pain, but after reading this, it might be even. This is a nightmare to deal with. This character.
I'm probably gonna main Tosca or
This
Bug.
is glass cannon if I've ever seen it. This is not necessarily the glass cannon from afar. This is the glass cannon right up front. If you can lock Tosca down, if you can somehow catch Tosca, she's gonna die 9 times out of 10. But if you just let this character run around the map, my God, it's just gonna be all hell broken loose.
Yeah, it's curtains for your team.
All right, what's the final word on Tosca?
I think the final word on Tosca is she's going to be an absolute annoyance that everybody's going to enjoy to play.
I think
a lot of
Tosca's gonna be
people
S
who
tier.
Love third-person shooters and these type of team play games. I think they're going to gravitate towards this character. Whether she has the standing potential to be, a main staple of any team, like in every team comp that you see, we'll find out because she seems very situational, kind of more of a lone wolf style. Unless she really capitalizes on going those upgrades to really capitalize on helping her team, really like the disruption effects. But otherwise, she seems more of kind of like the lone wolf style. Like I could see this being useful in a duos group. In a larger team group, she has to
I
really
sent
go
a
for
message
more of
to
that
the
AoE, help her
mod
teammates,
mail.
like blind enemies and stuff like that. She's gonna be less of like she's gonna be more of a harasser rather than like jump in and just deal damage.
Yeah, she's gonna have the great ability to peel enemies away, and like you said, just gonna be a complete pain. So you heard it here, guys.
I didn't get an email from him. No. I got invited personally, not through any kind of sign up at all. So they didn't never have an email from me.
Oh, for sure. I'm definitely gonna give this one a spin. This looks fun.
All right, guys. Remember, if you want more Crucible videos, to like and subscribe to Legion Gaming. We will be back here for another Crucible character in-depth video analysis, whatever you want to call it. For now, my name is Kodiak. That's been Livid. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.
That was a good breakdown of Tosca. They must be some good content. That was Legion Gaming. You can see his YouTube channel, Unite the Legion, there if you want to follow his content, or his Twitter, or his Twitch.
Hey there, folks. What's going on? It's Kodiak.
Shakiri
here,
breakdown.
Coming back at you in stereo, and today we are checking out another character in Amazon Game Studios' upcoming title, Crucible. This is Shakiri. Livid. What is going on, man?
Shakira.
I'm excited to check out this character. This is
Thanks, Squeaker. Appreciate it, man.
A duelist today, so
yeah, I mean they have so many cool characters in this game, and this one is one I've been looking forward to talking about.
Yeah, he's pretty nifty. Let's just jump into it.
Let's do it.
Watch and learn.
Thanks, man.
Sassy.
This one is apparently some big shot back on her homeworld.
We got the sword.
I mean, just look at that uniform, right? It takes a lot of stupidity
We got the
or an
pistol.
awful lot of moxie to give your opponents pointers on tactics and strategy in a firefight.
A lot of pressure.
Whichever
Pistol
one it
does
is,
a lot of damage.
Shakiri has got it in spades.
You've been practicing.
She's a tactical mastermind. Swaps
Yeah, she's
between her
fluidly
pistol and energy
switching
sword
between
depending
each
on
of
the
her
fight.
weapons, too.
And she's got a reflecting hollow shield to get her through some sticky
now that's cool.
situations.
Because why not?
Plus a force dome that her enemies can't pass through.
Okay.
That's
Trust me.
Yo, she looks legit, man. I might like her too.
It's good to be the best.
All right. Really, really interesting character. I mean, Livid, initial thoughts.
If you don't yell "Welcome to the Thunderdome" when you put down the shield, you're playing the character wrong. I'm just gonna say that.
So true. So true. I mean, yeah, that's one of the most interesting abilities in her toolkit.
Yeah, I can't imagine that's a short cooldown either. It's got to be a long cooldown. That seems like griefable on instances.
I mean, being able to, keep people outside of the shield and then keep the enemies trapped inside. So, damage coming in doesn't really affect you. And then you're locked in the Thunderdome, as you say, with, one or multiple people. That's a crazy ability.
Yeah, and you split enemy team focus that way. Like you can, if you hard cut off teams getting to each other.
Oh my God. Yeah. And that's such an important part of being a frontline player, right?
Or like, even if you're in a canyon too, like say you're in a canyon, you have 2 players on one side, 2 players on another, and they're trying to get to you, you plop in the middle, you separate both of them.
Yeah. I mean, just to be able to do that.
I mean, I think Mendoza is going to be a staple of every team almost, to be honest. I think that he's got probably the best mobility, like sustained mobility in the game, and long-term sustain.
Yeah, like it's more
and
than just the typical
very consistent damage.
And that's it. Like it's got a pretty unique take on the dome style ability that we see in games like like Overwatch, where Winston's got the dome. All it is a little shield that breaks instantly. This seems like a lot more utility can get placed with this.
Right, and that's going to need a lot of tuning to be, accurate and not cause the community to go absolutely bananas over that one move.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right, so let's take a quick look at Shakiri's stats here, just to remind everybody. Top one there is health. Next one down is defense. The next one there is mobility. After that is control. Below that is damage, and then finally range. So what's your takeaway looking at this chart here?
Well, being a duelist, right? She kind of wants people to focus on her, and it looks like with her shield ability, like her handheld one, she reflects those shots. So she kind of wants to be the center of attention for people, and she doesn't really. She kind of wants to get those one-on-ones, one-on-twos. She doesn't want to deal with any more.
I mean, that med kit is available every 10 seconds. Could you imagine being with your team and spawning a med kit every 10 seconds or something like that?
By that regard, she's definitely.
Or maybe it's longer than 10 seconds.
Isolating that one person, so you get the dome to be able.
But
to
regardless,
do that, you get
spamming those med kits for your team is gonna be huge.
To kind of draw aggro away from you, in a sense, like they're shooting at you, they don't want to get hurt, so they stop shooting at you, and it gives you kind of a momentary relief to like either slip away.
I see you're a cultured man of the Expanse.
I mean, and that's the reason why we're not calling her a tank, because of that health there. I mean, that is one of the lowest health pools based on this chart that we've seen. I mean, astronomically high defense, but comparatively, that health is really low, which means this is a high skill cap player. You can't just bumble into any fight, pop a shield down, and expect to live through it.
Yeah. It's positioning. Again, I mean, this game is, I'm quickly seeing that with every character, is that your positioning is going to be absolute key. And
Right.
it seems like it's starting to take a little bit of those notions from like almost like MOBAs, like where your positioning matters.
Yeah, and I mean, look, Amazon Game Studios has had decades probably at this point to look at popular games, look at what works, what doesn't work, what genres of games people are interested in, and they're making really interesting characters like Shakiri that can do a little bit of everything, but they do have their weak points. And
Although the most recent season of The Expanse was actually fucking garbage.
Saw her jump in using some sort of
I thought it was
like,
terrible.
flip engage ability, but it was nothing crazy. So she's in the fights, and if you don't know how to handle yourself in the fights, you're just going to be dead weight.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment on that one.
I mean, yeah, interesting character, but again, I gotta ask, where does she fit into a team? Because this is an interesting character.
The Expanse is a really, really great show. I just didn't really care much for the last season.
Hyper aggression, like
Thanks for the follow, man.
Or a Drakal, like those guys are all about like getting in there and like dealing with multiple enemies in a sense. They kind of isolate things, like they spread people apart, stuff like that. She might work if she can catch up to them, but she doesn't seem very mobile. In the sense like she doesn't look like she has any abilities that really can close the gap aside from like her slash when she jumps. But that seems kind of limited. Like you have to kind of attack in order to do that. You kind of waste that charge.
Right.
So she doesn't seem very mobile. So any person that can really kite her, I think it's gonna be really, really kind of strong against her in a sense.
Right, but let's remember that there are PvE type environments and events in each of these 3 different game modes. And when you think about it from that perspective, Shakiri steps it up a notch, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, she can use that dome probably to protect points while you're capturing them, right?
I mean, using the dome to protect those things, you can really keep enemies away by popping up her personal shield. You can delay firefights, especially if you're doing the Harvester one, which is all about almost like a domination type map where you have to stay on the point for a while. She's going to be really good at staying on points and not getting pushed off them.
I didn't even look at it that way, but that's definitely a point that definitely bumps her up then.
Yeah, I mean, not a true tank by any sense, but...
No, but like, when you're the Harvesters, where you have to actually sit stationary to capture them and stuff like that, being able to either place the dome on top of you,
I would say
comes in, nothing goes out,
that I don't feel
really want to blow that charge on that, or even just positioning yourself.
I don't feel like the events are gonna have
in the direction that fire might be coming at you, and you still provide cover to your teammate who's capturing that.
Right.
an impact on something like
She's
esports.
got good utility, really good utility, but awful mobility.
Yeah, with all shield abilities too, it really does come down to the execution of the shield system in the game. Looking to something like a Reinhardt shield where you can just, pop it out at any time, pop it off, pop it on. Is that how her shield is going to work, or is it going to be a one and done? You have to fire it and then it lasts for 10 seconds. It really all depends on the shield mechanics themselves, how effective she's going to be in each situation.
Exactly. Yeah, if it's like a breakable shield and then it extends the cooldown, maybe, you know, that those could be big effects that we don't see here. Like we mentioned, you know, I think some hard counters to her is going to be anyone that really can jump around her. I think Tosca is going to be like her worst enemy. Because while you might be able to like trap him in the bubble, if he's still got 2 blink charges, you know, if you get close to him, he just blinks the other side, or she blinks the other side, and then you get close to her again, and she blinks away again, and the dome's probably out by that point.
Right. And I mean, Shakiri does have that pistol, which does kind of help you with that mid-range. Say you do have a Tosca or something that can dash away or blink.
Can Tosca not blink
It
through
does have
through
pistol,
her
but that
shield?
is a skill shot weapon. It's not a you know, shoot it and hit everything in front of you. It's just like a McCree or like any other, you know, pistol character that you've played in other games where you're really going to have to be accurate with it to do any sort of damage. If you're missing with your pistol, nothing happens, and then again, you're just dead weight on the field.
Yeah, because you also have limited ammo.
I don't know what their plan is for esports.
Basically. I think you only have 6 shots.
I think that there's some things that need to change if they want to do that.
You're not good with it. I mean,
you cannot have a team of all the same character.
so
No.
let's take a peek at the essence upgrades here. Let's go through tier 1.
All right, so with tier 1, we get extended lunge, which increases your sword attack range by 25%. So, you know, in my opinion, that just adds a little more cleave, I guess, you know, to that. It's kind of like that kind of addition, right? Just gives her more viability with the sword. I think it's going to be an essential pickup for anybody because, you know, you need that more damage when you need to be able to extend your range, because if you're not using your pistol, your sword's really all you got. If we get into the second possible upgrade, we got Starlock Capacitor. It increases the maximum pistol energy from 6 to 8 shots. So, you know, an extra 2 shots, that can be the difference between killing an enemy or not killing an enemy, you know, or tagging somebody if there's some effects that go along with that later on, you know. And then the last kind of possible upgrade is Noble Shield, and it makes the Halo shields width increased.
There are no items.
Gives
No.
you a larger area to cover. More teammates could possibly fit behind it. Easier to cover points that you're capturing, or blocking multiple shots from different directions. You know, if it really gives it more of an arc, you know, a lot of possibility with that. I think that's going to be a very essential upgrade for any team play based Shakiri.
Right. We can already see 3 very clearly defined paths. We've got the sword path, we've got the pistol path, and then we've got the survivability path. So again, guys, for anybody who doesn't know, you do have to pick these essence upgrades before you get into a match. So before you go into one of the 3 different game modes, you need to know, okay, I'm building sword build, and I'm going to go with extended lunge. I'm going to go with all of the essence upgrades that work that way. You don't get to make that choice on the fly. So you really do need to know your team. You need to know your character, how you play with Shakiri before you even get into a match.
Yeah, that's huge. And then we see that if we get to level 2, she has Empowered Deflect, and this one seems really cool. Deflected shots will inflict 50% more damage. So you're really playing off the shield. If you're going for that shield build with increased width, then you're also amplifying damage even more that's going out. So like this, I think, would be a way to deal with a Tosca. You know, because if she's getting close to you and she's pumping you with that shotgun, and you pop that shield and she's not ready for that, and she doesn't have a blink charge and she's just focused on hitting you, she's gonna kill herself.
Right. Any of those characters with a low health pool, with a good Shakiri that knows how to use her Halo shield, she's going to be able to deflect those shots and potentially kill somebody without ever firing a shot or using her sword.
Yeah, as long as you're precise about when you use it. Right. So, you know, people are going to be watching for you to pop that, and they're going to know that once that's down, they're going to go after you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a really cool synergy with Noble Shield, but that tier 2.
I will have gameplay from yesterday for you guys when the embargo is lifted.
Such an important part of the toolkit, no matter what.
And I will probably do a 36 to 48 hour stream.
All right, so take us through level
tomorrow.
3 here.
Level 3, we got Synergistic Blade. It increases the sword damage by, I think, 3% for each remaining shot of the pistol's energy. So if you're really capitalizing on using, you know, melee, you're meleeing the whole time, right? And you're up close.
Well, I'm going to do this for a little bit today, then I'll go to bed, and I'll wake up like probably an hour before I can stream it.
Shots, you get 24% extra damage.
Or I don't know.
With your sword. That's nothing to laugh at.
Yeah, I mean, that's really interesting to see that you could go with extended lunge in tier 1 and then synergistic.
Yeah, the game's coming out tomorrow.
I think that's the blade build, but actually going Starlock Capacitor with synergistic blade may be better because you get that extra 6% because you have the 2 extra shots in your pistol.
And like it also kind of makes up for like not having extended lunge if you just purely wanted the initial 20%.
You know, I'm doing this so I can answer some questions about it and hopefully convert some people to being followers, and then they can come back and watch me stream later on, man.
More melee damage mixed in within that, you know, you get an extra, you get extra 24%. That essentially gives you the first 2 traits.
The
or first
embargo
2
with
upgrades.
Right. Yeah,
Which
that's
is pretty cool.
That's a really cool way to break out the character, giving a viable talent that works. So extended lunge and Starlock Capacitor both affecting synergistic blades. So that's really cool.
And then, so the second option you got is Freeze Lock Pistol. Pistol shots now slow opponents for 10% for 1.5 seconds to a maximum of 30%. So it sounds like, you hit them with 3 shots, you'll get them up to, 30%. Now, I wonder, the big thing with that is if you can wait till the very end of that 1.5 seconds and hit them with another shot, if it refreshes that and extends it up to 20.
Yeah, and it's really interesting that that's
what time is it? The Pacific Standard Time right now. What time is it?
Starlock Capacitor gives you those 8 shots. Now you're really your ranged
6
ability
a.m.
to
Pacific Standard
control the
Time.
battlefield outside of your dome shell, right? Outside of that dome shield, or Force Dome as it's called. You now have this pistol which you can use to
So an hour and a
manipulate
half.
the team, and that's really, really interesting.
Yeah, it gives her a more like support control play style. And it's, 8 shots that can potentially slow enemies at any range that the bullet can hit from. That's that's a pretty good slow for catching people. That would help, Drakal or Tosca or really anybody who really needs to close the gap and get to somebody. That's a lot of time they're slowed for.
Yeah, and for a character that doesn't have a lot of mobility, again,
Yep.
it's a skill shot, so it does require that higher skill threshold. But that could really be the difference between killing somebody and letting them get away.
And then her third option for the upgrades there is Healthy Gambit. Abilities recharge 15% when health is above 70%. So I guess it's, she gets an extra 15% towards her passive recharge rate, I guess.
I would imagine that's faster. It's supposed to be abilities
We
recharge
will be
15%
free to talk about the
faster.
game, yes.
So I mean, it's all about keeping her topped off, right? That's a really good ability. Unlike the ones where something changes after, like when you're lower than something. This is staying topped off. And if you have
No.
either health kits or you have a healer,
We don't get to play it earlier than anybody else.
is viable
Today we can just show our
Really interesting
content
builds
that we
across
have.
those 3. And they all kind of work with each other. You can really mix and match and still have a really viable character, I think.
We still have to
this
wait
is
till the
one of
20th,
first
just
ones
like
that we
everybody
talked
else,
about
man.
where I feel like the tier
May
1 and tier
20th
3
is when everybody can play.
essence upgrades really could mix match however you want. There's different builds here, unlike the other ones, which were a little bit more cut and dry.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, let's move down to level 4 here. Force Dome Overcharge. Force Dome's health and duration increased by 50%. I mean, this is what we were talking about before, the balancing of Force Dome, man. I mean, an extra 50% on the health and duration. That could be huge if not balanced correctly.
Yeah, you will officially be locked in the Thunderdome once you hit level 4.
Right. I mean, talk about a duelist character keeping somebody, trapped in a place they don't want to be trapped in. It's not just for, catching people that are trying to run away. It's for really locking down the battlefield, creating that division between an enemy team, picking off a weaker one, grabbing a Tosca that could...
We have recorded gameplay.
Blink through the Force Dome. Probably not. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, even think of things like manipulating your environment. Like you have the PvE creatures, right? Say there's like some sort of enemies in there we don't really know yet, but there could be some ones that are just really strong compared to others that you really need to be coordinated to fight, right? Say in a situation like that, you kind of bait something like that over, and then you just dome an entire team and you walk away.
Yeah, I mean...
that thing's now aggroed right there on them, and the dome pops, and now they have to deal with it, allowing a situation for you to capitalize on.
So many different ways to use that shield. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's going to be... I think those are going to be some of the Twitch highlights you see, YouTube
100%.
highlights.
All right, get us through this last tier here, level 5.
Level 5, we got a Strike to the Heart, which is a disruptive strike that inflicts 1,500 damage over 3 minutes.
Weird ability.
1,500 I don't know how much that is in terms of a health pool. So,
I mean, you're playing the long game here, though.
Yeah.
3 minutes? What? I mean, I don't even know how to make it that one because 3 minutes in a competitive game like this is a lifetime.
Yeah.
Or multiple lifetimes.
It's just like an insanely long dot damage.
It's a really interesting ability. I think we're both a little flabbergasted by it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, 3 minutes, you can have your entire team wiped in that timing. Like,
right. Crazy. And who knows if it does it persist through death? Because that would be crazy, right? If you die on the battlefield and you come back and you still have that dot on you, oh my god, that would be the biggest pain.
Yeah, it would be annoying. It'd be the most annoying thing to deal with. And then we got our last possible upgrade here, Restorative Dome. Force Dome now heals you and allies.
What link?
I mean, what? Come on. Come on,
Talk
Force
about
Dome.
This dome is... I think this dome is going to go through balance changes. I haven't even played the character, but just it seems ridiculous.
I mean, I don't know what kind of alpha beta testing they've been doing, but I hope people are testing this dome out. because honestly, if I drop this thing,
I will
inside
have
of it,
gameplay
I'm
for
taking
you,
that as
Dorian,
locked in
here
here,
very soon.
it just sounds overpowered.
You
I've
can
got
control
recorded
points,
gameplay that I'll be able to play for
companions,
you
can
guys.
manipulate the environment with it. Like,
I'll be able to answer all your
I
questions
mean, again, this is a really interesting
very soon.
character. She mixes a lot of different elements together. A duelist type character with very high survivability and sustainability on a battlefield, the ability to control her enemies, where things are positioned, but low health pool. So it's a really interesting character. I don't know, Livid, what's your final thoughts on this thing?
I wasn't sold on this character initially going into this, but by the end of this discussion, I think I've completely changed my tune on it. I think she's going to be probably one of the most picked characters.
I would 100% agree, and I agree with the Force Dome. Those are going to be the Twitch clips where people are locking other people out, doing ridiculous things with this character, and the good ones are going to ascend. This is how it always goes with these sort of competitive games. The good players that know the intricacies of these character builds are going to rise to the top, and she has the potential to be absolutely destructive on the battlefield.
Destructive, disruptive, everything.
All right, guys. Well, Shakiri is coming out on May 20th when Crucible releases. If you want more video content in your feed for Crucible and other great games, join Legion Gaming, subscribe to the channel. Of course, join us on Discord. My name is Kodiak. That's been Livid. Thanks for watching, and play on.
See you later, guys.
What's up, people? Orsicourse here, coming at you with another quick update video. So I was streaming yesterday, and this name popped up, Crucible. So I went and looked into it because people were saying that it's kind of looks Paragon-ish. And looking at it, it kind of does. It looks like a mix between Paragon and like Battleborn or some type of hero shooter. But it looks interesting. Looking into it, it's an Amazon-based game. It's free to play, and it has controller, like partial controller functionality or something like that, which basically means that you can play the game on controller.
Yeah, I
but
still
you
have
may
like an
to log
hour
in,
and a
like,
half
mouse
or
and
so
keyboard or
until
something. I'll look into it once I actually get my hands on the game. It comes
Holy
out on
fuck,
the
that's
20th. This, it looks pretty good.
I got
I've
like
been
an
looking
hour
at
and a
some of
half
the
or so
gameplay,
until I
I've been
can
looking at some of the
show you all that
heroes,
stuff.
and it looks fun, and it's free to play. So I mean, you know, you got to try it out at least once. It looks like I have a couple of game modes, but it's only going to be on one map for now. From my understanding, I have like a 4v4, and then they have like a map where
But
or a mode
I'll be
where
here to
you,
answer
where you
questions and
team up
kind of
with
go
one
over
other
the shit.
person, and it's
I
like
only
you two against a
I don't
bunch of other
have an
pairs,
insane
and
amount,
then
right?
last
Like I
team
only
wins
had
or
like
last country wins. So it looks interesting. It looks like they're trying to do some fun stuff with it.
I think
It
I have
looks
like
very
100
mobile,
gigabytes
you know what I mean? Like they're
of
very
fucking
fast
a video.
type of gameplay. So I'm curious to see what that looks like. I think it's going to be a lot of fun though. I'm curious.
Hey there, folks. What's going on? It's Kodiak and Livid here, coming at you in
Oh,
stereo.
Drakal. This is
Today
going to be
we
a
are
lot of y'all's
diving
favorite
into
character.
Crucible. This is Amazon Game Studios' upcoming third-person shooter. Super excited about this
Holy
one.
fuck,
And today
Christ,
we're going
dude.
in depth with Drakal. He's one of 10 new characters, and we couldn't do this without doing it together. So, Livid, what is going on, man?
Hey, how's it going, guys? I'm super pumped to be here. You know, we're trying out this new
Oh,
format.
let me show y'all
together,
this really
and I think
quick.
this will work pretty
Holy
well.
fucking
Yeah, I
Christ.
mean, we both have experience in this shooter genre.
Check out
You
this
have a lot
fucking
more
burrito.
experience with the PvP side of things. Me, I'm a PvE guy, so I think this is going to be a really
It's fucking
interesting
it's
experience, with a PvEVP type game.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think it's gonna be a very. I think it's a.
Look
good,
at this
good spin
fucking
on the
thing,
whole
dude.
genre that they're trying to do here. So,
It's
I think
it's
without
bigger
further
than
ado,
my
we should,
fucking head.
jump right into the trailer.
Let's do it. He's a big boy.
Yeah, it looks like a definite bruiser.
This is Drakal. He's a piece of work, you know? I mean, he's not evil, not exactly.
Big spinny boy.
But he's really good with that axe, and he really enjoys swinging.
Oh, this is 100% your character, Cody.
At first. I mean, sure, they're ready for the melee swings with the axe, but nobody is prepared for the sonic pulse the axe fires to
Okay.
hit them when they're out of
Little
reach.
range there.
Got a range attack as well. That's
And
nice.
he's quick on his feet, too, for such a big guy. He can power up that axe to stun or to bleed his enemies. When he whips himself into a frenzy, he can pull opponents in close, or gain health from hitting them.
So he's like a lot of catch
Nobody
control.
underestimates him twice. Good luck.
Not just a pretty face.
Oh,
What a
snap.
cool character. I mean, I just was enthralled the entire time how beefy but how quick he could move.
Yeah, it's like it's an interesting take on like we're used to seeing like tanky kind of like heavy hitting characters, not so agile, but he looks like a super threat on the field, like just run you down and keep you there. Like
Definitely different than the sword and board type tanks. More of damage first, care about my health and my defense later type guy.
yeah, and they were saying that he can cause like some bleed damage with his abilities. He's able to stun. He's got control for pulling people in, so he's just there to keep you locked in. And I'm pretty sure he can also do he does some bleed damage, or not just bleed damage, life steal. So it looks like his sustain comes in the form of like just beating the crap out of enemies.
Yeah, and like you said, you mentioned in the trailer, he's all about control, and that's a really interesting concept where a lot of bruiser or frontline characters are all about helping your team kind of weather the storm. He's more about kind of peeling enemies off, keeping them locked down, bleeding them, forcing them to move in certain directions and force scenarios.
Yeah. And another thing I noticed too, like I was watching his cooldown bars at the bottom right, and whenever he used an ability, he only had like an 11, 12-second cooldown on some of his like big stun hitting attacks and like his grapple. So like a 10, 11 to 12-second cooldown, that's pretty short for at the speed at which this game moves. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And so let's quickly take a look at his kind of stat chart here. Now that I'll go through it top to bottom just so everybody at home can follow along. So the top one is health, second one down is defense, third one down is mobility, fourth one down is control, fifth one down is damage, and the final one down there is range. So what do we get just by looking at this chart? What is Drakal going to be all about?
He's all about just keeping people locked down. Like he wants to just get people away, or in an area that higher damage dealing like teammates can really like just pump damage into.
I mean, those top two bars are control and mobility.
Yeah. So he wants to catch people, isolate them, and just provide an opportunity for his team to really catch up. I think that's what it's going to be, his main use.
I think that a lot of people are going to play this hero, and they're not going to know how to play them, and they're not going to perform very well. I think a lot of people are going to pick them, and there's going to be a lot of fucking people that don't play him well at all.
In the Crucible.
Yeah, 100% there.
All right, so what do we think? What kind of we talked a little bit about his abilities. What type of play style? Like, where does he fit on our team of four? Say we're playing Heart of the Hive. We have a team of four. Where does he fit into the mix?
I think in our team composition, he's definitely going to be a frontliner. Like he's going to be the kind of like almost like tracker. Like if you're looking for enemies to fight, or even just PvE creatures, he's going to be the one that's getting up in their face, like to draw aggro and just try to deal much damage and keep them locked there. And then you're going to have somebody that's more of like a high damage like sniper in the distance, like a Jonah, like popping them from a distance, like keeping them as far away but still within range. So like you'll probably see like the two of them, like I'd say like Ajona and Drakal are probably going to be moving together trying to grab people, and you're going to have like the more supporty characters or ones that do more like sustained damage over time will then be showing up to the fight amidst that. Like I don't think you're going to be running like super close knit. You're going to want people grabbing people and peeling them off. So I think that's where he'll fit in.
And what's so interesting about this character is that while he does have that kind of jet propulsion thing that pushes him into a fight, he's also probably going to have to move out of fights just as much, because if you look at that stat chart again, I mean, his health and his defense are fine, but again, he's not a tank.
Right.
So he's going to need to use that jet propulsion to engage, stun, control, bleed people. He may need to use it to get out. So he really is a distraction control type character.
Yeah, I can see him getting in there, causing bleed, procking his lifesteal on there. And then just as quickly as he's in, he just dips back out while they're sitting there stunned. And then if they try to engage back on him, he can zip in another direction, or another teammate can jump on him during that time.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people think that these melee characters, I mean, just looking at him, right? Big old two-handed axe, he's beefy. People may automatically assume, oh, this is an easy character to wrap my head around. But it's actually, after looking at the stats and kind of what his abilities are, he's actually probably a high skill cap character.
Yeah, because you got to know when to engage and when to disengage, definitely.
Right, and how to use those different controlling abilities, how to really isolate a team or manipulate a team to, benefit your team.
Right, and we really haven't even gotten a chance, and we'll do so in the future, of getting into like their essence upgrades, because we know that you can choose different paths to really like amp the ability or amp the capability of some of your abilities, going forward. So we don't know if like, one build might be just all about damage and another might be really speccing into more heavy control, so he might have different ways of playing that character,
right?
And really knowing which one to pick in the match that you're going into with your comp might be, a significant learning curve.
Right. And it's a combination of knowing your team and then knowing how to build this character, because with the Crucible, the essence upgrades, you have to do those beforehand. You pick your essence upgrades beforehand, and as you level up in each match, you unlock those things. So you really need to know your teammates, or you really need to know the build that works for you. One of those two things, or hopefully both.
I would 100% agree with that. And I think, there are going to be times where he's going to run into some problems. So there could be like potential counters coming forward that would be something like, maybe even, a mirror of himself. Cause we know there's going to be instances where there's 8v8 game modes, right? And during those times, there's going to be another version of himself. Someone else that can lock him down, like as he initiates his jump, like his boost, because there's going to be a cooldown period on that. And that's when he's vulnerable, like right after that boost. So if he gets in and does damage without people really capitalizing on that moment that he jumps in, then he's going to be kind of a sitting, target. If he can get back out of there really quickly, like after he's in there without really worrying too much, he's going to be pretty safe.
Right. And one of the most vulnerable Drakals, I think, is going to be one that engages or misengages. Everybody else peels off or gets away. He just used his abilities, his engage ability. He's got nothing to swing at.
As I'm watching these, I'm actually starting to see.
And I mean, that ranged ability is okay, but it's not great.
Yeah, that's more kind of like the chip damage kind of thing. He's not like bread and butter. It looks like his bread and butter is really
about
just being
if
up in your
comps
face
would
and
actually
getting out.
really
Right,
make
it's
that
same
big of a
type
difference.
chip ability that
or
like
if
a
they,
Reinhardt
or if they
has,
were
right? You
really
throw it out there,
knocking-
you're just trying to knock somebody
No,
off
but I'm
their game, just try to confuse
watching
them or
these
manipulate
videos,
them
I'm
just
kinda
enough so
seeing
that
how
you
there
can
could be
either
some
close the
synergy
gap, get away,
within some of
just
these
make them
characters.
think you're doing something that you're not.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely how I would see it.
So we're thinking hard range counters, those further away characters, anybody that can keep their distance from Drakal is going to have that advantage.
Yeah, just as much as I think Azona would be a good character to pair with him, like going after people, I think it's also one of his strongest counters. Because with the grappling hook, you can get away from whatever dash that he's coming at you with if you don't get hit by the stun, and then you're up in the air and you could just fire down damage on him before he has another chance to boost away.
Right.
So like something like that, or even just like someone that misengages on like Bug, right? And he's got his plants kind of.
You cannot have multiple characters of the same type
Placement
on
of
the
those are
same
really going to
team.
matter.
There's
If they're
ten-
not
there's
set up beforehand, I
basically
think he'll easily pick them up.
4v4.
He's jumping into an engagement that they haven't scouted properly. That's
You've
where
got
he's gonna fall
4v4
short.
map.
Right. And one of the
you
cool things
have
about the
a
Crucible from
8v8
everything that
map.
we can
and
tell,
you have
there is a lot of verticality. There are a lot of paths in this game. So
teams
a
of
smart
2
Drakal is going to be able to sneak
8
up on
teams.
enemies as much as possible, as much as a hulking behemoth can do.
When you're
and
on a
really
team,
kind of manipulate them from a
you cannot pick the
surprised
same
position,
character more
as
than
opposed
one.
to just running at somebody, and they see you from a mile away. A
I
bad
think there's
Drakal
10
is just
characters
going
total.
to do that. They're going to run at them. The person over on the other end of the map is going to start firing at him. He's going to be half dead by the time he even engages.
Yeah, I think there's definitely needs to be somebody that kind of like draws their attention like momentarily before he engages. That would be probably the play style that would fit best with him.
100%. All right, so let's quickly look at the essence upgrades. Thanks to the Plague Crucible Reddit community, we have these great infographics showing the character and their essence upgrade. And let's just quickly go through each tier. And we were talking about builds before. Take me through that first tier here, because each one really sets Drakal up to be a different type of character.
Right. So at like level 1, we see that he has the option to get Second Wind, which is a successful chop attack, which I think is his basic attack. Reduces the cooldown of your rush by 1 second. So, the more you're swinging, the more that your rush, your dash comes off cooldown. So it really, I see how that plays really well together, and that's like a significant upgrade for essence wise, right? And then he has another one that's a maiming blow. So chop will inflict a dot against targets with less than 50% health. So there's like a condition there. So he's got to get in there and do enough damage first before it really chips away and allows the bleeding effect to really take place. You know what I mean? And then the last one on that tree is get him gutted. Quick melee causes vulnerability for 3 seconds. What that means exactly, I'm not sure, but it sounds like a status debuff effect that makes him probably take more damage on the enemies.
Right, and some of the better Drakal players, at least in my initial reaction to this, would go with Second Wind. If they're successfully landing chop after chop after chop, they're going to be able to get rush off cooldown. You said most things are 10 to 15 seconds. 5 chops in there on a small engagement will bring that down, to 10 or 5 seconds. That's a big deal.
Right, and in the time that you're already engaging, that timer's already going down too. So, a 10-second cooldown on, say, something like his dash, right? And you hit with five attacks in the span of 5 seconds, well, it's off cooldown already then.
Right, a Drakal bouncing around the map every 5 seconds, that sounds terrifying.
Yeah.
All right, so tier 2 here is, we only have one option, Tough It Out. 25% of incoming normal damage to you becomes a dot. So this basically just spreads out the damage. You don't take it as like front-loaded damage, you take it spread out. That is a little bit of a tanky passive skill, if you will.
Definitely. So I mean, you would definitely need, if he goes with that skill, you need a healer paired with him. So tier 3, we got what? Okay, now I'm mad. So the damage multiplier by plus 15% when he's below 50% health. So that pairs really well with that level 2, with that tier 2 of the level 1 essence upgrades, right? So he's going to do significantly more damage the lower and lower your health gets. And then his second unlock on there is you detect targets with dot within 80 meters. So that's pretty cool. The blood tracker allows you to really, like, if you're trying to chase players down, but your team hasn't quite caught up to you and there's like a straggler, you can hit him and then dash away to safety if you cause bleed to him, and it allows your teammates and stuff to keep chasing that enemy down and always know where he's at. So that's a really good strategy for really peeling players off their groups.
Well, hopefully it does say you detect targets. So we don't know quite yet if
Yes,
Blood
true.
Tracker is going to be just for Drakal or for an entire team. But if it's for an entire team, that's a game changer.
Yeah, that'd be busted, I think, actually, if it was.
All right, last one there, incoming.
Yeah, incoming. A sonic pulse that destroys enemy projectiles. That's another really tanky kind of ability, you know. It negates ranged damage, essentially. So
Right, and it's taking Sonic Pulse from that chip ability that we talked about before and making it more of a defensive or utility ability, something that a Drakal, a team-oriented Drakal can see, oh, there's a big projectile coming, I can use Sonic Pulse and destroy it, either protecting my team, protecting myself, something like that.
right.
And just to clarify with okay, now I'm mad, it almost seems like that talent is something that you would take if you're solo, because I think it gives you a damage multiplier when you're below that 50%, right? So is that something
Right.
that you would take, I mean, by yourself, where you're probably going to be below 50% more often when you don't have a healer, next to you all the time?
Yeah, that would make sense to me. Because if you're above that cap all the time, it's a wasted talent.
Exactly. Right. So if I'm solo, I'm going into the queue. That's something I may consider taking because I know I'm not going to get healed as much, say, as if you and I were playing together and one of us was healing.
Right. Exactly. I would agree with that.
All right, so the next one here, another just a one option choice. Push through the pain. Damage does not interrupt med kit use. We saw that in the trailer. There are med kits at the bottom of the screen. Doesn't really have anything to do with the main gameplay, but it no interruption of your healing is really good.
Yeah. I mean that also plays off his strength of being able to dash around and catch people.
Yeah, and it actually reduces kind of the viability of okay, now I'm mad, because if you're now you have an easier way to heal up. What's the point of that talent if you're trying to stay capped at all times?
Yeah, we just wonder how limited medkits are. That's the other thing.
That's true. All right, take us through that last tier there, tier 5.
So on tier 5, we got Abs of Plasteel. So enraged makes you invulnerable for 1.5 seconds, it looks like. That sounds kind of busted. It's like a hard CC break, basically. And just damage in general. So if you have that, you jump in, you get enraged, and they can't touch you for 1.5 seconds. And if they're getting lower and lower, and you have maiming blow, you're just gonna start going off on them. The faster you get damage in on them.
Right, and we still don't know exactly how the enrage works, right?
Right. It could be something that's like triggerable, or maybe it's something that it just automatically procs when it gets to a certain point. Like if it's controllable, this seems like a really good talent. You know, and then Sonic Shock, the Sonic Pulses now slow targets by 25% for 3 seconds, which aids in more CC, allows his whole team basically to catch people if he's running around with Sonic Pulse going off. And it just, 3 seconds is a really long time to be slowed.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about that control. It's all about manipulating the enemy team. And with that talent, it just completely, amps that factor of Drakal up to 10. That 3 seconds, like you said, is a long time. If you're hitting one of their characters that is squishier, is softer, and you hit them with a Sonic Pulse, allows your team to close that gap. I mean, 3 seconds is a lifetime in a competitive game like this.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it literally means life or death for characters at times. If you're caught out as like a supporty character, you don't have that much of a health pool usually to work with.
All right, so final thoughts on Drakal. You get the final word. What do you think?
I think he's going to be a really staple character. Like judging from what I've read so far about the different characters, his control kit seems really good. He's extremely agile. It's going to be to the favor of a lot of people's playstyles, I think. Being able to get in and out. I think a lot of people enjoy those characters, like from games like Overwatch, where there's Genji, he gets in, does some damage, gets out. There's a lot of people that love those style of characters. And this one just seems like he's got a little bit of added survivability on top of that, while also contributing to a support kind of role to his team. I think it's all around really solid kit, and I think he'll be pretty pretty picked up, I think, in a lot of cases.
All right, you heard it here. He's going to be a staple of the teams, guys. Remember to like and subscribe to Legion Gaming if you want more Crucible videos in your feed. Livid and myself will be back for another character in-depth dive very soon. But for now, my name is Kodiak. That's been Livid. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, guys.
Hey there, folks. What's going on? It's Kodiak and Livid coming back at you in stereo, and we are back for another Crucible character video. And today we are checking out Cezanne, the one-woman army.
And let me tell you guys, she's an absolute monster. So Cody and I recently got a chance to sit down at a preview event for Crucible, and we got some hands-on with some of the characters, and this was one of them. So I guess the best way to introduce you all to this character is just jump right into the trailer. What do you think, Cody?
Let's do it.
Yeah, she seems like a lot of fun.
She just looks like a total badass.
Oh, yeah.
You ready for action?
Like Terminator style.
They call Cezanne a one-woman army for a good reason.
And she is.
Never so much as rolls out of bed without
commando
her.
knives,
A nursing
shotguns,
gun, electro knife, and shotgun. She swaps them fast, and she gets
shipping
bonuses
people off.
based on what weapon she's holding.
Yeah. Her
Plus,
dash is
she's
crazy.
incredibly light on her feet. Dashes around the battlefield to take advantage of tactical openings. You may as well counter grudges as a weapon, too. She's convinced someone in the unit
it's just
get her old
constantly mowing
commando
people
squad
down.
dirty.
Oh, yeah. It's very hard to get away
Oh,
from her.
she is never going to let that one go. Frankly, I pity the poor sap who did it. Because she will find them. Eventually.
I'm always the last one standing.
All right, so now that we both had the chance to play this character, man, what were your initial thoughts about Cezanne? You know, you fired up the first game. What did you think about her?
I'm going to go ahead and say that this character is one that I will probably just main because she is my absolute favorite out of all the ones that I tried.
I mean, she elevates the whole like soldier archetype, right? There's more to her than just being a soldier.
Right. She's not just like the typical, like, just aim at things and shoot, kind of like, Soldier 76. She's not like that at all. She's much more quick on her feet. She has much more of like, there's actual a skill gap with her, which we'll get into. But she's really good, like, and fun to play. Like, when I say enjoyable, she's enjoyable.
Yeah. Take people through her core gameplay. As somebody who played a few matches with her, take people through her core gameplay. You can go through every ability if you want, but just really, what is the essence of playing a Cezanne?
Right. So the essence with her is she doesn't operate with like other characters where she reloads her weapons. She kind of like spends them like that ammo, and then she is forced to switch to another one of her weapons in her kit. And when you swap to another weapon in a kit associated with whatever weapon it is, there's a buff. And those buffs you can get like speed, damage, cloaking, and you're just kind of like hot swapping between your 3 different weapons: your shotgun, your rifle, and your melee weapon. And you're just swapping between them, and you just kind of keep on your toes with dashes, trying to kite around enemies and go medium to close range in and out, just trying to harass enemies and just pepper them with damage.
Right. And the key to, you said it's a melee weapon, but the key is really this electro knife. Tell people a little bit about why that weapon is so special.
So the weapon is really cool in the fact that it's a ranged skill shot. So you want to hit somebody with it at range. And what's cool about it is it not only does it apply a really long lasting dot effect on them, so they're going to constantly take damage, but it also will refresh the energy of your weapons. So if you've spent the energy from, say, your rifle and you're forced to switch to a different weapon, if you switch to the knife and you land a shot with it, it's going to refresh your rifle right away, which is really cool.
Yeah, and she's so good in different situations too, because the rifle is kind of a mid-range rifle. It's got a little bit of a kickback to it, but it's not too terrible to use. Then she's got the shotgun, which obviously 3 shots, up close, personal, tons of damage, and then the knife. So she's super fluid and flexible in the game.
Yeah, and the other really cool thing about her is, we'll get into this also, but there's a perk with her that when you're swapping your weapons, you heal, which is cool. So you can use it as like a utility to kind of sustain yourself in fights, which is really cool.
Yeah. All right. So where does she fit on a team? You know, we were playing Heart of the Hive, which is a 4v4 game mode. Where does she fit on that team comp?
She's your hard DPS. Like, anybody that picks her, you're going to be the one responsible for taking down the Hive most of the time, keeping players away, just dealing damage and moving on to the next target. That's like your goal as that character.
Yeah, and she has a lot of mobility, like Livid said before. Once we talk about the essence upgrades, you'll see there is so much flexibility and mobility with this character. Maybe she's not the most mobile, or maybe she doesn't do the most DPS, but she checks off a lot of the boxes.
Yeah, she's all around really good at what she does.
All right, so when you were in the game modes, though, how about counters? Who were you struggling to kill with Cezanne?
So Drakal is, if he gets up on you and you really can't get away from him, because he can pull you back, keep chasing you down, and he keeps sustaining himself through like lifesteal, through bleeds and stuff like that, it just becomes a real hard thing to deal with. Like sometimes you can get away though because of your dashes and everything, and you can swap to keep healing. But he's really hard to get away with and deal with. Summer is really annoying. Basically, those characters that really get up close to you are ones that are really problematic to deal with.
Right, you split that line between being in that kind of middle ranged position where you don't want to get too close to enemies, but you want to be close enough that you can use your shotgun, because if you get too close to a Drakal or a Summer, they're going to be able to get you down.
Yeah, they do a lot of damage up close, so that's definitely her weakness, is people that get up close to her.
All right, so why don't we talk through the essence upgrades, just so everybody knows at home. You have to pick your essence upgrades before you go into a match. During the match, it's a PvEVP type game. There are PvE elements to the game. As you level up, you're going to unlock those things that you selected. So, Livis, take us through.
It's 7 a.m.
So for level 1, she has 3 options. The first one is Restorative Exchange, and when you swap weapons, you heal for 20 health. So every time you're swapping, you're just sustaining yourself, which is really good. And mid-fight, it's a nice little burst heal, in between things. So it keeps you going on the battlefield. Or you have the option, number 2 is Stalker's Knife. The Electro Knife detects targets within 25 meters on impact. So it's kind of a cool thing where if you hit somebody or you hit a wall, it kind of does like a pulse and kind of detects enemies around there, which is kind of neat. I don't know how useful it really is. The health kit thing I think is way better. And then the third option is taking cover. Completing interactions or using medkits cloaks you for 5 seconds, which that could be a very good option also, because if you're in the middle of combat and you manage to sneak away for just a second right before somebody jumps on you and you get off that medkit, you immediately just go cloak for 5 seconds and can slip away even more and let that heal fully go off.
And it's a good opportunity to tell people, after playing the game for a few hours, it is a little bit slower in terms of time to kill than other shooters that you've probably played. So there's a lot more strategy. Intelligence is really important, really understanding when you need to move between PvP and PvE. So there's a lot more layers to Crucible than I think a lot of people know about. And I think that's going to be really exciting for people, especially when they get a character like Cezanne, who can do both the PvE and the PvP decently well.
Yeah, and your life is worth a lot in this game. Like if you go down, it's a detriment to your team.
Right, you're down for what, 20 seconds or so?
Yeah, you're down for a significant amount of time, plus the time it takes you to respawn and get back to where your team's at.
All right, so let's look at level 2 here. This is fully engaged. Swapping weapons grants short-term passive abilities. Electro Knife gains a cloak, Shotgun gains speed boost, and Inertia Gun gains a 150 shield. So like Livid was saying before, as you're swapping the weapons, you're gaining these small buffs. And the level 2, that's your only option. This is the only thing you're going to need because it's such a good passive essence upgrade. I mean, that shield is fantastic. The speed boost allows you to be even more mobile. And then, of course, the Electro Knife, just getting into position to fire that thing off for some massive dot damage, it's just a really great essence upgrade that works with the fiber of the character.
Yeah, it complements her kit extremely well. It's like one of the best designed, I think, passives that are in there so far.
Absolutely. All right, let's look at level 3 here. Take us through that one.
So for level 3, you have 3 options once again. For the first one, you get Capacitor Overflow, which when you swap weapons, you get a 6% damage boost for 10 seconds. So as you all know, you're constantly swapping between weapons. This is an overall really good essence upgrade because you're just, boosting your damage by 6% constantly. And you swap your weapon way more often than 10 seconds. So you're constantly refreshing this buff. So you always get like a sustained push on your damage there. Your second choice here is Full Blast Shot. Shotgun knocks targets back and it makes it more accurate. Now, this could be something, I didn't get a chance to really experiment with this, but this could be a solution to really dealing with like Drakals and stuff like that. Characters get up close, you hit them with the shotgun, they get knocked back and you escape. That could be a good solution. And then the third choice is Cut and Run. Jet Dash inflicts 60 damage and a 60 dot to opponents. So it's as you're dashing around, you can move through them and just constantly do damage and apply dots as you're doing other damage, which is it's pretty fun to use.
Right. And all 3 of those really take the character not in a drastically different direction, but they each open up a different avenue to play Cezanne, the way that you want to play. Like Livid said, if you want that shotgun, if you want to stay away from your opponents, taking that shotgun knockback essence upgrade may be really important for you. You may be able to pass on the damage upgrade because you just want to make sure that, you know, Drakal and Summer can't get close. And then totally out of left field, you have Cut and Run, which again, it's a mobile character. You can use Jet Dash pretty often, especially once you reach level 4, which we're about to talk about. But if you want to use that as an offensive ability, that adds another layer to the character that's really interesting.
Oh, 100%.
All right, take us through level 4 here.
So level 4, it's just like level 2 where you get one slotted essence upgrade. That's all you get for that one. It's Go the Extra Mile. And what it does is the number of your dashes increases from 1 to 2. And this, Cody can attest to this as well.
Game changer.
It's a game changer because the cooldown is already pretty short on dash, but having 2 charges of this thing, it makes the other one almost refresh by the time you're done with your second. So your movement is doubled. You know, the amount of times you can dash. You have way more options to engage and disengage. You could play a little more, I want to say recklessly, you know, and kind of can get away with it usually. So it's a really good essence upgrade.
Yeah, and it's a rolling refresh. So you use it and then it starts to roll. I think it's a 4-second cooldown if I remember correctly. So it starts to roll and you can keep stacking them up. So you can kind of space them out if you always want to have a jet dash available, or you can pop them both at, you know, one after the other. So it's a little flexible how you use that, which is really cool. You know, I mean, one of the best essence upgrades you could possibly want for this character, giving you even more mobility.
And it's great that it's mandatory.
That's right. All right, level 5. I'll take you through the first one here. Upping the Voltage. Gain 33% extra energy per weapon. Increases Electro Knife's damage by 33%. I mean, come on. You're talking about more ammo. You're talking about more DPS. You're talking about Electro Knife damage getting a nice boost. It's a decent essence upgrade.
Yeah, not only that, but you don't have to swap as often, which is good because there are cooldowns on those swaps. So extending the life of the time that you get to use your weapon for, you know, having an extra shot in that shotgun, or, you know, I think that's like 3 or 4 more shots on your rifle is significant. And it can be the difference between you getting a kill or not getting a kill.
Right. And if it wasn't clear before, reloading is not really a thing with this character. It's all about that weapon swap. So when you're out of ammunition or energy on one weapon, you have to swap to another one to refresh the energy on the weapon you just depleted. So it's not a standard hit R and your weapon reloads. It does not work that way.
Yeah, and that's something you definitely have to get used to, but it's really good.
Yeah, it's really rewarding when you get the swaps just right.
And then so the second choice in that tree is Disruptor Charge. So the first shot with your inertia gun disrupts target abilities for a half a second. So that could be really good. I never experimented with that because I just overall found that the upping the voltage was superior just in the way it already played out. Like you felt the difference when you got it. For this, half a second, it could mean the difference, you know, like if you get grabbed by a Drakal, right? And your ally gets grabbed by a Drakal and you shoot that and you disrupt that could save that person, you know? So it could be a kind of good utility thing, but how often you have your gun at full, it's really situational and you have to swap off it. So it's off for a lot more time. You're not getting the benefit from that as much.
Yeah, being able to hot swap to your inertia gun and then only getting that first shot. I mean, the stars kind of have to align for that to work properly. While it may work in some situations, I think the damage output that you get from upping the voltage is just far superior at this point.
Yeah, who knows? They could change all this stuff.
That's right. All right, so final word on Cezanne. You really enjoyed her, so break it down for people. What's the final word on this character?
I think if we're talking like meta, I think she's a meta character. I think she's one of the best characters they have implemented in the game right now, without a doubt.
Yeah, I mean, she's so strong. She's got both the PvE and PvP aspects to her. She's got a low health pool, a pretty small health pool, but the mobility makes up for it. She is more of a commando than any character that I think I've ever played in any sort of first-person shooter competitive game. You know, most people say that a commando is, it's just an auto attack hero. There's a little bit more to Cezanne than I think I've ever seen in any sort of military commando type character, and I love that about her.
I think they're doing a really good job doing good takes on kits that are different from a lot of other, you know, games in the genre.
Yeah, it feels familiar, but feels different in a good way.
Yeah, in a very good way.
All right, guys. Well, hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you want more Crucible content in your feed, don't forget to like and subscribe. We just opened up the Crucible section to our Discord, so if you want to be part of our Crucible community, come on in. That link is below. And from everyone here at Legion Gaming, on behalf of myself and Livid, thanks for watching and play on.
Take care, guys.
Huh.
Hey there, folks. What's going on? It's Kodiak
Give
and
me a
Livid
second,
coming
boys.
back at you in stereo. And today we are back with another Crucible character video.
I may have to backplate. My kid up, I think, and go watch. So I may actually have to get off. It's really unfortunate because the embargo's almost. So I'm gonna have to go deal with that. Those guys are doing a really good job. My microphone's cutting in and out. I apologize, man. I was saying that I might have to come back and finish this up later on. I think I gotta watch my kid right now. He just woke up. My girlfriend is not quite awake yet, so I'm gonna have to take care of my son. Obviously, more important than this. But the embargo is being lifted here in like 50 minutes or so. So I will probably just post Biggin. But after I play this trailer first, I just wanted to show you guys this trailer because I spent some time making this and I thought it was pretty cool. So I'll play this really quick and then I'll have to unfortunately be getting off. But then I'll be back later today or this afternoon. And I have a whole bunch of content that hasn't been seen yet to show y'all. Well, let's watch this shit really quick. That's the fucking hypest trailer I've seen for this game yet. Absolutely the hypest trailer I've seen for this shit so far.
Oh, hi. I've just been taking all my eggs and putting them in the Crucible basket.
Give me a second, though.
In the
I'm
Crucible.
unfortunately going to have to be calling this
Crucible's
here.
a type of basket.
And I will be back later on. But, I gotta go be a dad first. Let's see here. Who do we got that's streaming right now? Oh, seconds. That sounds good. Yeah, we'll give him a little host here. All right, friends. They'll have some content for you guys, I'm pretty sure. And I'll probably have some keys to give away as well. Y'all go show him some love. And I will see you guys later.
.120 hertz refresh